Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another live stream watch along on the Dibbly-Dobbly podcast. And thanks for joining me again. After taking a short break from the West Indies series, we're back for the second T20 between Australia and England from Manuka Oval in Canberra, which is the capital city of Australia. At the moment, England are 4 for 61, 9.1 overs. It hasn't been a great start for them in this match, as Mitchell Starc bowls to Ali for the 10th over. This one's down the leg side and it's called wide. So, yes, a very difficult start for England at the moment. 4 for 62, how things can change from game one to game two. And already on the back foot. Australia ahead of the game at this stage. England, what can they do? Can they bat the 20 overs out? We'll have to wait and see. As Mitchell Starc bowls to Moeen Ali for the second ball of the 10th over. And he runs in, he bowls, and Ali flicks this down to fine leg for a single and gets at the non-striker's end. And thanks for joining us, everyone, once again. After a short break from the West Indies series, as I mentioned before, we're back. We're going to be live streaming tonight's game and also game 3 of the series, which will be back here on Friday at Manuka Oval. So, Mitchell Starc, none for 10 from 1.2 overs. England, 4 for 63, 9.2 overs, as Mitchell Starc bowls to Dawid Malan. And Starc bowls, and Malan works this through square leg for a single. And Australia going along nicely in terms of restricting England at this stage. England have found it a bit tough. Obviously, this pitch here in Canberra is not as fast or bouncy as it was in Perth on Sunday. Australia back with their main bowlers tonight in Starc, Cummins and Hazelwood and Zampa, and already it's great to see them back as Starc bowls to Ali for this fourth ball of the over. Ali glides this down to short third man for a single. And England 4 for 65, 2 balls left, and we're nearly halfway of this innings, and it's not looking good for England. Gaming Crab, hello, hope you're well. And yes, Maxwell is back this evening. Didn't play in the last game in Perth, as Starc bowls this fifth ball of the over to Malan, who pulls him through square leg all the way to the boundary for 4. And that's a much needed boundary for England. 4 for 69, 1 ball left of the 10th. And they've done pretty well, England. Australia have done pretty well in terms of restricting England at this stage, but it's been a bit difficult for England tonight. They lost Buttler and Hales early, and since then they've lost a few wickets, and the momentum of the innings, and just see there Malan hitting that nicely in front of square on the leg side for a boundary. Starc, last ball of the over. This one's banged in short down the leg side. Malan works it down to fine leg for a couple of runs to end the over. End of the over, it's 4 for 70 after 10. England in trouble. What can they get to? They'll need something competitive here in this second game of the series after winning the first game. A reminder, as the players take a drinks break here in Canberra, a reminder of what's happened thus far. Australia won the toss, chose to bowl first. The teams tonight, Australia, Finch, Warner, Mitchell, Marsh, Maxwell, Stoinis, David, Wade, Cummins, Starc, Zampa and Hazelwood. And for England, their 11 this evening: Buttler, Hales, Malan, Stokes, Brooke, Ali, Sam Curran, Jordan, Willie, Rashid and Topley. Umpiring team tonight, on-field umpires, Jonathan Kosh, Philip Gillespie. Third umpire, Sam Nagoski. Fourth umpire, Sean Craig. And match referee, the former Australian batter, David Boone. And that's the match information for those who missed that earlier. But England, 4 for 70 after 10. We've got 10 overs remaining of this first innings, and this drinks break, Australia will be quite pleased, very happy to get them 4 down for 70 at this stage. Malan's 34 off 22. Adley's 5 off 5. Got to form a partnership, get back on track here, England. But we did expect this with Australia's main attack of Stark, Cummins, Hazelwood and Zampa, that they were always going to test the England batters. In the last game, we didn't see that, obviously. It was good batting surface in Perth, very good pitch, and we didn't quite see that in game number 1. But in game 2, Australia back to their best and England under pressure. So they'll need a partnership. They'll need something to get going here and try and get back on track if they can. But it's not going to be easy as England try and do something in this game. And let us know in the chat for those. We've got a poll up. Who do you think is going to win game 2 of the series? At the moment, you would think Australia are on track to do that. Let us know in the chat and vote in the poll so we know what everyone's thinking. Can England come back 4 for 70 odd after 10? Well, they've lost a few many 2 wickets at this stage, as they would like. But Australia have done pretty well to keep England under pressure here. So it's going to be Adam Zampa to bowl his second over, and he's going to be bowling to Darwin Malan. He's on 34. Good to see the crowd in Canberra tonight. It's quite a chilly night in Canberra. You'll see a lot of the crowd wearing their puffy jackets and blankets on the hill. Definitely cold at this time of year in Canberra. It's springtime in Australia. It's not quite summer yet. As Adam Zampa will bowl to Darwin Malan. And England 4 for 70 after 10. Here we go. Zampa bowls to Malan, and Malan hits this over point for 4. And after the drinks break, first boundary for England. Much needed boundary for England. They needed to get that boundary and start getting some runs here. 4 for 74. 10.1 overs have been bowled already. This one's a nice shot there from Malan. Very good shot. First boundary for him. Zampa bowls to Malan, and this one's pushed to wide mid-off for no run. Thanks for joining us, everyone. And Darwin Malan facing Adam Zampa. Zampa bowls reverse sweep from Malan. He mistimes it. And Matthew Wade does the fielding and didn't quite time that reverse sweep all that well, Darwin Malan. So a dot ball there. As Zampa bowls to Malan, and Zampa bowls, and Malan plays a big shot, a slog sweep down to the deep mid-wicket boundary, cow corner for 6. And that's what England needs, some boundaries and some sixes. That's a much-needed 6. 4 for 80 now. And a much-needed 6 for England. Very good shot there from Malan, just taking the attack to Adam Zampa, being aggressive towards the spinner, making him settle. As Zampa bowls to Malan, he works this through point on the offside for a single. So a pretty good over thus far. 11 runs off it. A 4 and a 6, couple of dots and a single. 1 ball remaining of this second over for Adam Zampa. And the 11th over, it's going to be Moeen Ali on strike. He's 5 off 5. What can he do here? Zampa bowls. And Ali pulls this onto the leg side through mid-wicket. And Marcus Stoinis out there in the deep will do the fielding and cut it off for a single. End of the over, it's 4 for 82 after 11. There we go. 4 for 82 after 11. And Darwin Malan, 45 not out of 27. He's hit 5 4s and 2 6s. He's got to be the one that's really going to guide England to a big score here if they are looking to be competitive in this match. Obviously, losing too many wickets, not ideal for them, but let's hope they can get something going here, get some momentum as we approach the back end of this England innings. So 11 overs done in the book. It's going to be Pat Cummins back into the attack. He's got 1 for 13 from his 2. He's going to bowl to Ali. He bowls and Ali hits this to the man of mid-wicket. No run. And let us know in the chat. We've got a poll running in the chat. Who do you think is going to win? You would say Australia are firm favourites at this stage to probably win this game, level the series at 1-1. But you never know in T20 cricket. Funny things can happen. But already England on the back foot. Malan is the batter that needs to get them over the line here for a big score. Quick single there from Ali. And he pushes this to mid-off for a quick single. And England, 4 for 83. 11.2 overs. Good fielding there. I believe it was David Warner there at mid-off. Ooh. In the end, Moeen Ali was fine. He was safe. No damage done there. So England, 4 for 83. What can they get to? They probably need a total of 150 or something like that. Pat Cummins now bowls to Malan. And Malan chips this high into the air through point. And Marcus Stoinis does the fielding for a single. A reminder, England lead the series 1-0. It was a very fascinating game in game 1, only to lose by 8 runs, Australia. England won by 8 runs. Australia did pretty well to get close in the end. It was a pretty good surface in Perth. But tonight's surface in Canberra, a bit different, a bit slow. Not really coming on to the bat nicely as it did in Perth. As Cummins bowls to Ali, he tries to pull this. It was a short ball dug into the surface there from Cummins, and in the end, a dot ball. Nearly got an outside edge there. In the end, no damage done, and it was a dot ball in the end. So Moeen Ali survives. Cummins, 2 balls left of his third over, 1 for 15. Ali's on 7 off 9. Malan, 46 off 28. He's been the only batter from England tonight that's really felt comfortable on this surface. Everyone else is a bit has struggled a bit as Cummins bowls to Ali. And Ali hits this back down the ground, past mid-off for 4. A much-needed boundary for England. And for Moeen Ali, 4 runs onto the total. Very good shot. And Pat Cummins there, bit of a change-up, rolled the fingers across that one, bit of a slower ball. In the end, Moeen Ali did well to hit that back down the ground past mid-off for 4. And the outfield a bit slow. It's been a lot of rain in Canberra over the last few days before this match has started tonight. So the outfield may be a bit tacky, a bit slow, but if you hit it well enough, it should go to the boundary. Cummins, last ball of the over to Ali. He bowls and Ali glides this to backward point for a quick single, and he makes it. Nearly touch and go there, but Moeen Ali gets the single in the end. It's the end of the over. It's 4 for 89 after 12. And England starting to build a partnership. Moeen Ali and Malan starting to build a partnership, starting to get back on track here as England look to get a competitive total on the board. Once again, thanks for joining us, everyone. I hope everyone's well. And a very good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you may be joining us around the world, watching tonight's watch along and just having some fun and talking about cricket. That's why we're here. And as I said, we're going to be doing more and more of these throughout the T20 World Cup, which is not far away. And that's going to be exciting as well as we build up to the T20 World Cup. So, Butler, Hales, Stokes and Brook back into the pavilion. The 4 wickets to fall thus far. As Marcus Stoinis continues. This one's down the leg side, a short delivery, and Ali pulls that away to backward square leg for a much-needed boundary for England. And Marcus Stoinis, he's done pretty well with the ball tonight. 2 for 13 from his spell thus far in tonight's game. Both of the wickets that he's taken tonight Hales and obviously Harry Brook have been off the first ball of his over. So he's been bowling well, Marcus Stoinis, and I guess that's good signs for Australia going into the T20 World Cup as he bowls to Ali. This one's pulled away high into the air for 6 runs into the crowd and dropped in the crowd. Well, he did very well to try and catch that ball, but in the end, Moeen Ali, what a shot. 6 runs and a much-needed 6 for England. Good evening, John. Hope you're well. You say very different looking track from Optus Stadium. Yes, it is. A bit slow tonight, not as quick as it was in Perth. But obviously, that's the nature of the game, I suppose, in cricket. Different pitches, different conditions. You know, Perth's different to Canberra. So the batters have to adjust and try and work out what's a good score on this pitch. But Australia, with the main attack, have done pretty well. They've got England 4 down for 99. But the partnership between Malan and Ali for the 5th wicket has done pretty well. 45. They need to go on and make it a big one if England are to score a big score tonight and be competitive on this pitch. But I agree with you there, John. Definitely a different looking pitch tonight as the umpires are going to change the ball here. I think the ball was damaged after that was hit into the stands by Moeen Ali. It's a very good shot from Ali. And Marcus Stoinis just straying off his length there. Got it wrong. Moeen Ali was able to connect it well and hit that all the way into the night sky here in Canberra for 6 runs. Much needed 6 for England as they try and work to a total that is going to be competitive. And Stoinis bowls to Ali. 3rd ball of his over. This one's banged in short, and Ali pulls this through square leg for a single. The 100 up for England. The century is up for England, which is good for them. They need something to be competitive, as Australia have bowled pretty well compared to the last game. Obviously, different bowlers, of course, from game 1 to game 2 for Australia. The main attack's back tonight. So good signs for Australia going forward, especially for the T20 World Cup, that the main bowlers are taking wickets and doing quite well. And we've got a bit of an idea of what Australia's first 11 for that T20 World Cup may be. As Stoinis bowls to Malan. This one's banged in short from Stoinis and pulled away onto the leg side from Malan for a single. Moves on to 47 off 29. Marcus Stoinis, an expensive over thus far. 10, 11, 12 off it with 2 balls left. Partnership 47 for England for this 5th wicket between Malan and Ali as they try and build the innings, try and rebuild after the collapse of wickets from England at the start of this innings tonight. 4 for 101. 12.4 overs. Stoinis to Ali. This one's down the leg side and it's going to be called a wide. And just getting it wrong there, Marcus Stoinis. Once again, thanks everyone for joining us. Hope everyone's well. Hope everyone's doing great. Come and join us. Have a bit of a chat about cricket. We're going to be here for the majority of the first innings between Australia and England, and also the second innings as well. And make sure you like the stream and share the stream as well, and subscribe to our YouTube channel and support the podcast as we continue to talk about cricket. Stoinis bowls to Ali. This one's a full delivery and dug out by Moeen Ali. And well bowled from Marcus Stoinis after a very expensive over with 1 ball left. Extra delivery because he bowled the wide. So, last ball, the 13th over. What can England get to? Let us know in the chat. What do you think's a good score? Stoinis bowls to Ali. This one's a full toss and driven straight to Tim David at long off for a single to end the 13th over. End of the 13th over, it's 4 for 103. So England made some progress in that over. Very expensive over from Marcus Stoinis as England tried to rebuild this innings after losing wickets at the start. This partnership's 49 for the 5th wicket. And they've done pretty well. Try to rebuild the innings, try and get some momentum back for England after a very ordinary start by losing those early wickets, and hoping to try and get back on track if they can. But they've done pretty well. They've scored all around the ground. Having a look at the wagon wheel of the partnership, they've done pretty well. 49 off 31 balls, so it's been a much-needed boundary, that's for sure. So Josh Hazlewood back into the attack. He's going to be bowling to Moeen Ali, and we've got 7 overs left of this England innings. What can they do, England? Can they get to 150? I think that will be a good score. Anything 150 plus will be good here in Canberra. Hazlewood bowls, and Ali hits us down the ground to deep mid-on. Glenn Maxwell there does the fielding for a single. Partnership now 50, a half century. Good partnership for the 5th wicket, as these two try and get England to a very competitive total. And Australia definitely stronger tonight, unlike in game 1 with their bowling. Played the second string attack. But tonight, they've done pretty well to get back on track. And Hazlewood bowls to Malan. Malan drives this through the covers. Thinking about 2, and they'll come back for the second. Very good running. Malan moves on to 49 now, off 30. None for 21 for Josh Hazlewood in his 2.2 overs thus far. He'll be hoping to get a wicket here and hopefully get the 5th wicket here for Australia as they try and get the 5th wicket of this England innings. Hazlewood bowls to Malan. Malan drives this through the covers, and that will bring up his half century. A single for Malan brings up his half century. Oh, in the end, they ran 2, sorry. A couple of runs in the end. I thought it was a single, but 2 runs in the end for Malan brings up his half century. Well played, Darwin Malan. He's done pretty well in T20 cricket of late, Malan, but you'd probably say his spot in the side's a bit questionable. We've Livingston to come back and other options for England, but a half century for Darwin Malan as Hazlewood bowls to to Ali. And he works this through mid-wicket for a single. So, England, what can they get to? 150 is probably their target from here. Be competitive. Not too many T20 nationals have been played here in Manuka Oval. There's been a few. Pakistan, India, Sri Lanka and Australia, and now England have played here at the ground. Hazlewood bowls. This one's a short ball, a top edge from Malan. It goes over the top of Matthew Wade's head. Adam Zampa does the fielding in the end, and they'll pick up a couple of runs. Yeah, so a short ball there from Josh Hazlewood. Tried to pull it there, Malan, top edge, and went over the top of Matthew Wade's head for a couple of runs. Adam Zampa did the fielding. And Hazlewood comes in, bowls. This one's a wide delivery, way outside the off stump. And the umpire signals wide. So, 4 for 112 for England. Not an ideal position to be in, but at least this partnership of 58 has wrestled some momentum that Australia had in this England innings thus far. It's been pretty good, but they need to go on with it and see if they can get the job done here as Hazlewood bowls to Ali. This one's banged in short, but Ali gets an inside edge and it races away to the boundary for 4. How many times we've seen that where the batter gets an inside edge and it misses the stumps and it goes all the way to the boundary? End of the over. It's 4 for 116 after 14. We've got 6 overs to go. And England building nicely after a very tough start to their innings. 4 for 116 after 14. We've got 6 overs remaining of the England innings. Inside edge there from Moeen Ali. Nearly played it on to his stumps, but got lucky and it raced away to the boundary for 4. So a couple of big overs from England. Overs 13 and 14 was certainly much needed in terms of where they're at the moment. But with 6 overs remaining, they need to try and maximise these last 6 overs. They can't afford to lose these 2. 2 new batters in at the crease. It's going to be very difficult. As Moeen Ali and Darwin Malan go about things nicely. The partnership 62 for the 5th wicket. It's going to be Mitchell Starc back into the attack, and he's going to bowl to Darwin Malan. Let's see if Mitchell Starc can get a breakthrough. He runs up, he bowls to Malan. And this one's a full delivery from Starc, and Malan hits this to the man at deep mid-on for a single. Glenn Maxwell does the fielding. Glenn Maxwell back into the side after missing out in game 1, being rested. Back into the side tonight. So Australia given us a bit of a picture of what's their best 11 heading into this T20 World Cup. Certainly the 11 they've selected tonight is probably their first 11 for the first game against New Zealand in Sydney. As Starc bowls to Ali, this is a full delivery, and Moeen Ali hits it over the man. On the boundary, over his head for 6. David Warner is hurt. He's on the ground. That's not a good sign from Australia. David Warner is hurt. He's on the ground. He tried to go for that catch. It went over his head. David Warner is asking the physio for assistance. I think he's just winded himself. I'm not sure. I have to see the replay, but very good shot from Moeen Ali. And this one hit through the point region. David Warner there was at deep point, and it went over his head. Ooh, David Warner just landed on his head. Ooh, his head hit the turf. As he went backwards, bang, his head went into the turf. So David Warner's just hit his head on the Manuka Oval grass. He looks to be okay. He's there with the physio, so he's going to be checked out for concussion. Let's hope he's okay, David Warner, but that was a nasty blow trying to catch that ball. Let's hope he's okay, but a much-needed boundary for Moeen Ali. It was 6 runs in the end, as England are 4 for 123. Steve Smith onto the field. So fingers crossed. Let's hope David Warner's okay as Moeen Ali faces Mitchell Starc for this 3rd ball of the over. Starc running in as always. Past the umpire. He bowls. This one's a full delivery. Moeen Ali gets a bit of bat on it, maybe a bit of pad. Works behind square on the offside. They get a single. Is it a leg by or a run? Just waiting to see what the umpire says. And I think he got a bit of bat on that. Yes, he did. A single. John, you says, unless our death bowling improves tonight, I think 170 odd is on offer. Yes, well, they'll need to bat out these 20 overs here, England. But Australia's bowling is strengthened tonight, obviously with the main attack coming back. So I think the death bowling would be a lot better than it was in game 1. So if Australia can get these 2 out, 6 down for 124, you'll be saying, well, Australia will be firm favourites. But at the moment, Malan and Moeen Ali are doing well. Everyone else from England tonight has struggled. Now, apparently, this was reviewed. So apparently we're going to review this LBW on the last ball off Moeen Ali. Apparently there's a DRS review. I think Australia called for it, for this LBW. It was given as runs in the end. So I think Australia are just wasting a review here. Let's see if we got a bit of bat on this Moeen Ali. Or, he got a bit of bat on that. So, I don't know why Australia reviewed that. They came straight off the face of Moeen Ali's bat onto the pad for a single. I don't know why we're reviewing that, so it doesn't matter. So a wasted review there from Australia in the end with the DRS. I don't know why Australia were thinking about reviewing that. Mo and Ali got a bit of bat on that. Gaming Crab, you say, do you think they can score 170, which I think is a respectable total? Yeah, initially in the Big Bash, we have to go off the Big Bash numbers here because there's not too many T20 nationals that are being played here in Canberra. The highest score was around about 160 odd, I think, and that was by India back in 2020-21, which they won. So I think anything over 170 should be a good score. As Stark bowls to Malan. This is high in the air from Malan. Who's under it? Is it going to go all the way for 6 or is it going to be caught? It's going to be dropped and it's over the rope for 6 by Tim David. Well, he gets away with that. Dawid Malan, it was high in the air. Tim David was pushing back to the boundary and he just parried it over the rope for 6. We'll have a look at this replay again. It went high in the air. For a moment there, I thought Dawid Malan did not get enough on that. In the end, he didn't. And Tim David was there on the rope. He got there. As he was falling backwards, the ball just went over the rope and he couldn't connect the catch. So a much-needed 6 there for England. They race along to 6 for 130. Stark bowls to Malan. Malan tries to paddle this over the top of wicketkeeper Matthew Wade. In the end, it's a play and a miss, and it's a dot ball. So drop catch there from Tim David. He was pedaling back, and then he got there, and then the ball just went over the rope. 6 runs in the end. He'll be disappointed with that, Tim David. It was well inside the boundary rope. He should have caught it. And in the end, didn't connect the catch. So England, 4 for 130. Stark bowls to Malan. This one's a full delivery. Malan gets it away for a single to end the over. It's the end of the over. It's 4 for 131 after 15. So we've got 5 overs left. England 4 for 131. So 5 overs left. England 4 for 131. They were in a bit of trouble at 4 down for 50 odd and weren't looking like posting a competitive score. But this partnership between Dawid Malan and Mo and Ali has certainly wrestled momentum back. England 4 for 131. You will probably think they need a score of 170 plus. Anything below that, I think Australia will be pretty happy with chasing that. So Cummins back into the attack. He bowls to Malan. Malan swings and misses at this one and goes straight through to the keeper for no run. John, you say, let's hope for Davies' head the outfield is soft as it looks. Well, it was a very hard blow there. Let's hope David Warner's okay. He was rubbing his head after hitting the turf. But I think he's okay. Let's hope he's okay. I think he's just taken a bit of a hard fall there, and let's hope he's okay. As Cummins bowls to Malan, this one's a full delivery. And Malan drives this through the covers for a couple of runs. And they'll pick up 2. But, yeah, let's hope David Warner's okay. Obviously, let's hope he opens the batting. Obviously, Australia still have to chase down these runs in the second innings. So it could be Aaron Finch opening with someone else tonight if David Warner's unable to open with that hard hit to the ground. Han, you say, hi, Jack. Sorry, I'm late. No, you're not late, Han. You're not late at all. Cummins bowls to Malan. This one's a wide delivery way outside the off stump, and the umpire signals wide. Not at all, Han. You're not late at all. I only started streaming around about 34 minutes ago. So you haven't missed anything, Han. So, but welcome, Han. You're not late at all, mate. Great to see you as always. And hopefully you have some questions for me in the chat. Looking forward to our conversations as always. So keep them coming if you have any queries or any questions you want answered tonight, Han, about cricket or anything else. As Cummins bowls to Malan, this one's hit through the covers for a boundary. And England have done well after a very disappointing start. For those who have just joined us, it was a bit of a difficult start. England were 4 down for not many, 4 down for 50-odd. And ever since Darwin Malan and Moeen Ali have come to the crease, this partnership has got England back to some sort of, control and momentum in this innings. As Cummins bowls to Malan, this one's a full delivery. Malan drives this to Tim David, I should say, at deep mid-off for a single. Australia will be happy about how the bowling's gone tonight. Definitely a better performance than in game one. It was a bit different there. Han, you say 4 for 131. Well, it's now 4 for 139. Looks a pretty low score. Have Australia picked a better bowling attack today? Yes, they have, Han, and I'll recap the teams in a minute. As Cummins bowls to Ali, this one's a short delivery, high in the air from Moeen Ali, and it falls safe in the man of the deep. It's on the leg side, I should say. Steve Smith on the field for David Warner, who's off the field because he took a very heavy blow to the head, trying to catch a ball off Moeen Ali, and he just slammed into the turf. But let's hope David Warner's okay. He looked a bit in discomfort, but let's hope he's okay. And let's hope he can open the batting when Australia go for the run chase. So 1 ball left at the 16th. And we've got 4 overs after this. England 4 for 140. It's a better position than they were at 5 for 50 odd. 4 for 50 odd, I should say. Not quite getting my words out today. But it says England are favourites to win. I wouldn't say that. I think it's a different pitch to what it was the other night. Cummins bowls to Malan. This one's a short ball. And Malan tried to pull it, mistimed it completely. Playing a miss, dot ball. It's the end of the over. It's 4 for 140 after 16. We've got 4 overs left of this England innings. What's a good score? Well, 170 looks a pretty good score. They need 30-odd runs to get there. They need Malan and Ali to see them till the end. They can't afford them to get out at this stage. Gaming Crab, you say you need a wicket now. Yes, Australia do, but it's a bit of a slow pitch. The batters haven't really found their timing tonight. It's a very different pitch to what it was in Perth when it was flying through with good bounce and good carry. Here in Canberra, it's not fast, but it's often a good surface. But we've had a lot of rain in Canberra. There's a lot of moisture in the pitch. The ball's done a bit. So I think if Australia get off to a good start, then they'll back themselves to probably chase this down. It's a much better team tonight for Australia. Obviously, Han, for you, a bit of a reminder who's in the Australian team. Fitch, Warner, Mitchell Marsh, Maxwell, Stoinis, David, Wade, Cummins, Stark, Zampa, and Hazelwood. As Zampa bowls to Ali, this one's a full delivery, and Ali tried to cut it, and he missed it. It's a dot ball. Matthew Wade does well behind the stumps. A lot of people talking about Matthew Wade after last game. Less said about that, the better, I suppose. As Zampa bowls to Ali. Runs up, he bowls. This one's tossed outside off stump, wide. Ali tried to go for it. Misses it. Good take from Wade. It's a dot ball. Good start to the over for Adam Zampa. Back into the side tonight after missing game one, being rested, as Australia look to manage their players heading into the T20 World Cup. Zampa bowls to Ali. He did well to get a hand to that, Adam Zampa. Moeen Ali played a pull shot in front of, straight back down the pitch, sort of like a swat. And Adam Zampa got a hand to it. Was it a chance? Oh, yeah, it was. It just hit the one. It just hit the right hand there. Adam Zampa did very well to get a hand on that. Just hit him on the thumb. And they get 2 runs in the end. Ali moves on to 40. Zampa bowls. Moeen Ali dispatches this one to the boundary, I should say, for 4. Good use of the feet from Moeen Ali. And he's hit this straight back down the ground for 4. Very good shot. And now England starting to put on the pressure on the Australian bowlers. Adam Zampa, as we have a look again, this one was a full delivery and a very good shot from Moeen Ali. Went through the legs of Adam Zampa and he hit that straight back down the ground for 4. Very good shot. Moeen Ali, as we know, very good T20 player. Zampa bowls to Ali. This is high in the air. Man in the deep, takes the catch, Tim David. And that is the end of Moeen Ali. He's got to go for 44. Adam Zampa gets his second wicket. And England lose their fifth. They're 5 for 146. A much-needed wicket for Australia. They've broken the partnership. And that could set England back in that 170 score. Han, you say Stokes doesn't deserve to be there based on how well Sultan Brook were playing before he came in. I tend to agree with that, Han, because Ben Stokes wasn't in England's best T20 side before he took that break, obviously. He wasn't playing in England's T20 side. So he's definitely not in their best 11 before he took that break, obviously. You've got other players like Brook and Salt. I think they're better off to be in the side. And you've got Ben Stokes as a backup just in case you pick up an injury. So I agree with that point you've made there, Han. And he looked a bit off in the first game and also in the second game, Stokes. As Sam Curran arrives at the crease, he's going to be on strike, because the new batter always faces. Now we don't have the crossing law. We don't have the crossing rule anymore in cricket, or law, I should say. Because the playing conditions were changed, obviously. So Curran, new batter on strike. Last ball of the over, he will face from Zampa. Bowled pretty well tonight, 2 for 25 for Zampa. As Sam Curran faces Zampa. Last ball of the over, Zampa bowls and Curran hits his back down the ground to deep mid-on. Deep long on, I should say. For a single. That's the end of the over. It's 5 for 147. So good partnership between Moeen Ali and Dawid Malan comes to an end, unfortunately. England was struggling. 5 down for 50-odd at one stage. But they've done well to get a competitive total. Will it be enough? Who knows? We shall wait and see. As England 5 for 147 after 17, it's going to be Josh Hazlewood back into the attack. We've got 3 overs remaining, and they get to that 170 score. I think that's probably going to be a good score for them. But a very good catch from Tim David. He dropped a catch off Dawid Malan a few overs ago, where he parried it over the rope for 6. But in the end there, he did very well to catch that ball and take that catch. A much-needed wicket for Australia. I think Australia will be happy with where they're at the moment. I think it's a much better bowling performance, different pitch, different conditions here in Canberra. As Sam Curran faces Josh Hazlewood. Hazlewood bowls and Curran swats this to Tim David at mid-off for a single. And Dawid Malan on 68. He's done pretty well. John, you say slow pitch. Yes, it seems to be a bit slower than it was in Perth. Obviously, different conditions, of course. But in cricket, you've got to adapt to different conditions. And definitely not a fast pitch tonight. So we've seen a lot of batters struggle. So you've got to make that adjustment. As Hazlewood bowls to Malan. And this one's a full delivery. Well bowled from Hazlewood. Good delivery, full delivery. Malan was not able to connect that with any bat at all, and a dot ball. So Josh Hazlewood, last over for him, and I've noticed tonight Australia did some different combinations with the bowling. Mitchell Starc didn't bowl the first over; it was Josh Hazlewood, then Cummins, and then Starc came in much later. So Hazlewood bowls to Malan. Malan hits this through the covers for a single. Tim David does the fielding. And Curran back on strike. Han, you say, Jordan is there, but no Sams. Ruined my dream team. Well, they were always going to play the best 11 for this game, Han. And David Warner Now, I can't hear what the commentators have said. Hazlewood bowls to Curran. Curran gets inside the line of this, trying to flick it over fine leg. In the end, he misses it. It's a dot ball. Now, I'm not sure about David Warner's situation. He did go off because he did hit the ground pretty hard trying to catch a ball off Moeen Ali that went over the rope for 6. Now, I'm not sure if he's going to open the innings. I can't listen to the commentary. I'm just watching the game without sound. So I'll have to chase that up during the innings break. But he looked to be okay. He was walking, so that was good. Hazlewood bowls to Curran. This one's wide outside off stump. Good delivery from Hazlewood, not allowing Curran to access the ball. Bowl wide outside off stump and try and bowl those wide Yorkers. That's the plan. Last ball to go off this 18th over. As Curran gets ready to face Hazlewood past the umpire. He bowls. And what a shot from Curran. And, over the rope for 6. Mitchell Starc down there at deep square leg. It was way down the leg side from Hazlewood, and Curran was able to flick that over the rope for 6. The 150's up for England. What a shot from Sam Curran. His brother's Tom, obviously, but what a shot there from Sam Curran. Hazlewood just got the line wrong, and he hit that over deep square legs head for 6. Mitchell Starc did well to try and get a hand on that, but before he got a hand to it, or tried to, it was over the rope for 6. So that's the end of the 18th over. It's 5 for 155. So 2 overs remaining. Darwin Malan on 69 not out. It looks like we're in for another exciting game tonight. Quite a high-scoring game in the last game. As Mitchell Starc will bowl his last over here. He'll bowl to Malan. And this one's, well directed at the pads there from Mitchell Starc. It was a full delivery down the leg side. Went through the legs of Malan. We know Mitchell Starc can execute those Yorkers. And that's what he will be trying to do in this 19th over. This is the important over. As we associate in a T20 match, the 19th over is always the important one, especially if you're bowling second. But for Starc here, he'll be trying to limit the damage here if he can and get a wicket, preferably get rid of Malan now. As Starc bowls to Malan. This one's a full delivery. Malan goes big onto the leg side. It will fall safe of Marcus Stoinis out there in the deep. And he'll get a couple of runs. He moves on to 71. Han, you say it looks like Livingstone is not going to be fit for the start of the World Cup. You would have imagined he would play by now. Yes, I did read something that he's looking to play in that warm-up game against Pakistan. So I don't think he's out of contention yet, Han, as Starc bowls to Malan. Malan tried to flick this down to fine leg. In the end, he got a bit tangled up and the ball trickled onto the offside for a single. And he moves on to 72. Yeah, as I was reading on ESPN Cricket Info, Han, it did say that Livingstone, apparently he wants to aim for that Pakistan warm-up match on, is it Tuesday or something like that for England next week? So he's definitely coming back from that ankle injury, but it's a bit touch and go whether or not he will be fit in time or he gets an opportunity in this tournament. As Starc bowls to Curran. This one's a full delivery and bowled him. That's the end of Sam Curran. Bowled him neck and crop. And that's the end of Curran's short innings. He has to walk back to the pavilion here at Manuka Oval. And he's disappointed with that shot. But Mitchell Starc gets his first wicket of the evening. That is the end of Sam Curran. Good delivery from Mitchell Starc. A full delivery at the stumps and hitting middle and off stump. That's what you want to see. And that's a good delivery from Mitchell Starc. As we associate with Mitchell Starc, he bowls those Yorkers, full deliveries at the stumps. Sam Curran's got to go for 8. It is 6 for 158. And that 170, 180 score looks a bit out of reach for England here now as Chris Jordan comes to the middle. Coming in tonight, he's one of the two changes for England. I believe Wokes and Mark Wood are out tonight, being managed and being rested, which is understandable, obviously, as we're heading into a few days out to the T20 World Cup. So Mitchell Starc, good to see him taking wickets. Didn't play in game one, was rested. As Chris Jordan is on strike. He'll be facing Mitchell Starc, who's got his tail up. He bowls, and this one's a full delivery, well dug out from Jordan. And that's been hit into the covers for a quick single drop and run. And Chris Jordan looking to get off strike and get Dawood Malan on strike. Han, you say the way I see England is that they have to get big scores. They have the batting for 170 plus every game, but the bowling is not going to get 10 wickets in a game or go for less than 8 and over. I agree with that, Han. I did talk about that before the series started, that their batting looks good, but without Mark Wood in the side, without the X factor of pace, they look a bit ordinary. As Starc bowls to Malan, Malan pulls him over the rope for 6. Over the deep mid-wicket boundary for 6 runs, and it's caught in the crowd. What a way to end the over from Dawood Malan. It's 6 runs. End of the over. It's 6 for 165 after 19 overs. What a shot from Dawood Malan. He picked the length up there quickly. And that's the important thing is that as a batter, if you can read the length quickly, you can get into the good position to be able to play the pull shot, and he did. He hit that in front of square on the leg side. Good foundation, good base, good balance, and he knew that was going to go over the rope as soon as he hit it. And well taken in the crowd, sir. Well taken. And so much needed 6 there. Han, you say, I didn't see the Warner injury. Was it like Darren Goff when he smacked his head onto the turf? Yes, it was, Han. Exactly as you mentioned there. He was going for the catch. Moeen Ali hit the ball over the rope for 6. He was on the boundary. Unfortunately for Warner, he fell over and hit his head. So on the turf. So he went into the rooms to get checked out for concussion. I'm not sure if he's available to open. As I said, I'm not listening to the commentary. It's just no sound for me. As Stoinis bowls to Jordan, this one's a full delivery onto the pads. It trickles onto the offside for a single. They'll pick up a leg bye. So England, it was a very tough start, losing 5 wickets for 50-odd. And all of a sudden, the partnership between Malan and Ali have done well to wrestle England back into this match. At one stage, it looked like England were going to be losing this match for all money, but they've given themselves a chance. John, you say 180 isn't out of the question now. Well, with that wicket in that last over and Australia just bowling some dot balls here and some singles, they could get to that 180 score. They're on 166 as Stoinis bowls to Malan. This one's a wide delivery, way outside the off stump, and he has to re-bowl that delivery again, Marcus Stoinis. But definitely 180 is certainly going to be a good score for England. They're definitely going to get 170. If they can get to 180, I think they'll be happy with that. After being 5 down for 50-odd, they'll certainly take that. And they have to thank Dawood Malan, whose spot has been questioned in this T20 side for England, and Moeen Ali. As Stoinis bowls to Malan, Malan works this to the fielder at deep square leg. Mitchell Starc does the fielding, but he taps it back onto the rope for 4. And he's not happy about it, Mitchell Starc. And England get to that 171 mark with 4 balls left because Marcus Stoinis bowled a wide in this over, so he's got to bowl 4 extra deliveries that he shouldn't have bowled. You can't afford to bowl those wides and extras, but been really impressed with Marcus Stoinis tonight. He's bowled okay. He's taken 2 wickets. I thought he batted well in the last game. Hope to see that improvement in this game. Mitchell Starc tried to field that ball at deep square leg, but he knocked it back onto the rope. Stoinis bowls to Malan. This one's a short ball and hit to the man in the deep. Steve Smith takes the catch there in the deep on the leg side, and Marcus Stoinis picks up the wicket of Dawood Malan. He's gone for 82. He's batted well tonight, Darwin Malan, and he's on his way. And England are 7 for 171. So, not quite at that 180 mark yet, but 170 on. I think England will take that. After a very tough start with early wickets falling, I think they'll take that. And but with the bowling, as we talked about, as you mentioned, Han, I think their bowling may struggle without Mark Wood tonight, obviously with that extra pace. But let's see what they can do. But definitely for England, the question is their bowling. Is it going to be strong enough in this T20 World Cup to take wickets? Mark Wood's injury prone. So you've got to wrap him up in cotton wool, which they're doing tonight. David Willey comes out to the crease. His father, Peter Willey, was a former international umpire for many years. And David Willey's his son. And he'll be on strike. Got 3 balls left of this last over. Stoinis bowls to Willey. Runs up, he bowls. Willey tries to ramp this over the top of the keeper in Matthew Wade, but unfortunately he misses it completely. It's a dot ball. 2 balls remaining of the innings. Marcus Stoinis, good comeback, taking the wicket of Malan and then that dot ball. If Australia can keep them under 180, I think they've done pretty well, Australia. But really, Australia had them 5 down for 50-odd. You can't let opportunities slip like that. So if we're going to be a little bit critical of the bowling, they probably should have taken a couple of more wickets if England were 5 down for 50-odd. But anyway, got to give credit to England. Malan and Ali have done well to rescue England from what would have been a very disappointing score. Stoinis bowls to Willey. Willey tries to play the ramp shot again. He scampers through for a quick single. In the end, it's a bye. Thinking about 2 runs, it was an overthrow, but in the end, they just settled on the single. And in the end, they get a bye. So 172. So I think Australia have done very well to keep them under 180. We talked about that. David Willey tried to play that ramp shot again. I don't know what he's thinking about here, David Willey. Just try and get a single. Try and, not be fancy. But anyway, this is the last service, so you've got to try everything to try and maximise the runs if you can. So Marcus Stoinis, last ball of the innings to Chris Jordan, who's on 1. He bowls, and this one's a full delivery, and Jordan hits him over the rope for 6. What a shot from Chris Jordan. That was aimed at the pads, and Chris Jordan just helped it on its way to the deep leg square leg boundary for 6. What a way to end the innings. In England, finish on 7 for 178. From there, 20 overs. So 6 for 178 from their 20 overs. England have done pretty well. And you've got to say that was a poor delivery from Marcus Stoinis. A very expensive last over for him. But at the innings break, England are 7 for 178. 179 for Australia to win. So almost 180 for England. Marcus Stoinis bowling at the death. Obviously, Australia trying different combinations in terms of bowling different bowlers at different certain roles and positions. I don't think Marcus Stoinis was probably the wise choice to bowl at the death. Maybe Mitchell Starc for that last over. But anyway, we'll get to your comments in the chat. Han, you say, I didn't think he would miss the World Cup. But surely if the team is doing well before he is ready to come back, then he doesn't get into the lineup. But he's definitely aiming for that return, Liam Livingstone. He's definitely a very dangerous player. But England have got a lot of options. It's just a matter of who you fit in and who comes into the side and all that stuff. So it's up to the selectors and Butler what they do. Han, you also say, I wonder why they don't give Luke Wood a go in one of these matches. Well, I believe you're talking about Luke Wood. I haven't heard of him that much, Han. I think I saw him in Pakistan. Correct me if I'm wrong, Han. Did he play in Pakistan? I think he did. I didn't see him, but I know he did okay. He bowls some pace, I'm guessing. So, yeah, I don't know. But obviously T20 World Cup, you want to play your best 11. You want to try and get the best players into the 11 and hopefully, get them some game time, which is the important thing. But as we saw with Australia in the last game, they tried different combinations in terms of bowlers and given other guys a go. I don't know. That's their choice, England, in terms of who they want to play in which particular game or series. John, you say, not sure they aren't bowling more Yorkers on this pitch. No, just didn't quite get it right there at the end there, Marcus Stoinis, at the death. Got it a little bit wrong at the end there. A bit too full, and Malan and Chris Jordan were able to maximize those deliveries. So after being 4 for 54, England have done well to get to 7 for 178. All thanks to a very good partnership between Dawid Malan, 82 he made, and Moeen Ali, who made 44. Everyone else struggled a bit. So you would say Australia would be happy about chasing this. You would think they'll back themselves to chase this down. They've got a strong batting lineup. A few question marks over Marcus Stoinis, Glenn Maxwell. Matthew Wade, we know his finishing skills. Tim David's been pretty good. Aaron Finch is back in the runs. David Warner, obviously, for those who don't know, David Warner hit his head pretty hard on the turf. So it remains to be seen whether or not he'll open the batting. But I think he will. I'm not sure. I have to check that on ESPN Cricket Info now. As I do that, who do you think is going to win this match? I think we're in for an exciting match again, as we saw in the last game in Perth, where it was only 8 runs the difference in the end. But you have to say England have done pretty well to come back. Australia will be disappointed. They should have really capitalised when England were 4 down for 54. Couple of wickets there, really on the back foot. But anyway, they've made a game of this. Just checking about David Warner here. But I can't find anything there. So maybe someone in the chat can tell us about David Warner. Because as I said, I can't listen to the commentary, obviously. So it's no sound for me. So I didn't know what they said. So I think he should open the batting. I'm not sure. We'll have to wait and see what happens when Australia come out for the second innings. That will give us an idea. Definitely for Australia, they'll be disappointed about leaking those runs at the death. I don't think Marcus Stoinis was the wise choice, but that's what they went in with tonight. And that's not a bad thing. You've got to try players at different positions in terms of bowlers. Okay, you're going to bowl here at the death, you're going to bowl here. And that's what they did tonight. Cummins and Hazelwood bowled the first couple of overs. Mitchell Starc was into the attack much later than usual. So definitely a different sort of thinking and tactics from Aaron Finch this evening. Han says, is a concussion sub allowed to bat? Yes, they are, Han. With the concussion sub, it's a like-for-like replacement. So if David Warner's ruled out with concussion, they can call up a Josh Inglis. He's a part of the squad because he's a like-for-like replacement. He's a batter, so a batter in for a batter, a bowler in for a bowler. Same thing. As we saw with Marnus Labuschagne and Steve Smith at Lords during the Ashes, where Steve Smith got concussed and got hit on the back of the neck by Jofra Archer, Marnus came in as a concussion sub. So it's a like-for-like replacement if that's required. Now, I'm not sure if David Warner is ruled out. I'm just trying to find that information. But as soon as the second innings begins, I think we'll find out if he's opening or not. I haven't heard anything. I haven't seen anything. But he looked pretty okay, David Warner. He got up, he was walking, he was talking to the physio and the doctor. So that's good signs. Obviously, with concussion, we've got to make sure everyone's safe and doing well in terms of that. And, get them checked out and do the various tests. Han, you say, my thinking is that if Mark Wood is your pace bowler, then if you rest him, you can't put a medium in his place. Luke Wood is not as fast, maybe 7 or 8 kilometers slower, but it's still faster than the others. Well, that's what they've done, obviously, and that's the thing with England's bowling in this World Cup. When you're playing in Perth and when you're playing in Brisbane, it's definitely going to be a bit hard for those bowlers without the extra pace. But in other grounds like Sydney, Adelaide, Melbourne, they probably do okay, England, given that those pitches are not as fast. But their bowling's going to be tested. But they've got some quality bowlers. They've been around the scene for a while, but they are going to struggle. Their batting's good, but their bowling is their weak link. And if they don't have Mark Wood or that extra pace, as we saw in the last game where he hurried up a few of the Australian batters, then that's a perfect bowler to have in your side. Whereas with Australia, you've got Hazelwood, Cummins, and Stark who can bowl good pace. So that's the advantage that the Australian team have. And yes, it's definitely going to be the Achilles heel for England in this T20 World Cup. They can definitely post scores of 170 plus, as we've seen this evening, but can they defend it with their bowling? That's going to be the big question for them. John, you say, I agree, Stoinis at the death was either a strategic blunder or they're seeing what he can do. Yeah, as I said, they're just trying different things. That's why he bowled. That's why Cummins and Hazelwood bowled the first 2 overs. Stark didn't come on until much later on in the innings. So they're trying different things, and that's very important to do that, especially in these games leading up to the T20 World Cup, which begins very shortly, not far away. Han, you say, would Warner be allowed to open the batting if he was off the field for a number of overs? Well, Han, it's a bit different. Yeah, penalty time is what you're referring to. Now, if it's an internal injury, so if he's pulled a hamstring or something like that, then you have to make up some penalty time. So if it's an internal injury, like a knee or a leg or an ankle or whatever, and you're off the field for an amount of overs, then you have to make up penalty time. If it's in an external injury, so on the outside, then it's fine. You don't have to make up penalty time. In this case with concussion, I don't think he'll miss out any overs, I don't think. I have to check that. But to serve penalty time in terms of being off the field for X amount of overs, if it's internal, so an internal injury, you have to make up penalty time. If it's external, so on the outside, then you don't have to make up penalty time, as it says in the laws. So I hope that clears it up, Han. But I have to relook at the laws again and the playing conditions when it comes to concussion, if you need to make up the penalty time or not. But I hope that answers your question. John, you say, been listening to Fox commentary, no word on Warner yet. That's the thing. I'm not listening to the commentary myself, so I'm just trying to find it on ESPN Cricket Info or something like that. But the second innings is about to begin anyway, so that will give us an indication who will open the batting with Aaron Finch. Will it be Warner or... okay, thank you, John. Thank you for that update. Okay, just heard Warner will open. That's good. That's good. That's good. Bit concerned about David Warner when he took that blow, but he's okay, which is fantastic. So good signs for Australia, and he's okay to open, so that's good news. Han, you say Luke Wood did play in Pakistan. His figures 2 matches, 3 wickets, average of 24.33, a comedy rate of 9.12. That's okay in two games, I suppose. Different conditions, of course, in Pakistan. Han, you say, thanks for clarifying the concussion issue. I can knock Gabe out, and Nick can replace him with a hobo. Oh, dear. Got nothing much to say on that, huh, Han, actually? I'm quite speechless after that. But Nick and Gabe, always great to watch their videos and see what they've been doing in the course of covering cricket in America. Not sure if they're going to cover the T20 World Cup, though. I think Gabe said they might. I'm not sure. Given the time difference, obviously. It will be early hours of the morning for them with the games in the T20 World Cup here in Australia. So if they got some free time, I think they'll cover some games in that tournament. Speaking about the T20 World Cup, we're going to be live streaming the T20 World Cup, of course. Watch-alongs like this, like we're doing tonight with Australia and England. First game, Australia versus New Zealand from Sydney, the SCG on the 22nd of October. And we're going to be live streaming, watch-along all of Australia's Super 12 matches, plus any selected match that we think, we can live stream or watch along and talk about outside of Australia's games. So that's the plan. And also the semi-finals and the final, we're going to be live streaming them as well. So plenty of things happening on the podcast in terms of T20 World Cup. So if you want all the T20 World Cup news or anything, just subscribe to the podcast and we'll have you covered, basically, as we try and cover the tournament, which will be hosted in Australia for the first time. Han says, Nasty Nick called me a liar because he's a and doesn't like that I tower over him. Thanks for that, Han. You also say, Han, does the T20 World Cup have an opening ceremony? I don't think it does, Han. It's pretty much straight in. It's not like the World Cup where you have an opening ceremony. So, yeah, pretty much straight into the tournament. And, no opening ceremony whatsoever. I know for the 50-over World Cups, they've had a bit of an opening ceremony before the first game. Now, Aaron Finch and David Warner going to open the batting. So good news, David Warner is okay after that hit to the head as he was trying to catch that ball off Moeen Ali that went over the rope for 6. He banged his head into the turf. He's okay. The doctors have said you're okay to play, so that's good. Good signs. He batted well in the last game, David Warner. He's in good touch. He made 74 in the last game, I believe, or something like that, 70-odd. And it's going to be Ben Stokes to bowl the first over. That's interesting. Ben Stokes is going to bowl the first over of the innings. He'll be bowling to David Warner, who's on strike. Usually David Warner takes first ball as we get ready and get back into this match. John, you say Gabe has a broken heart. The time difference is an excuse. Well, knowing Gabe, I think, as we know with Gabe, he'll probably make the effort to watch Australia or the West Indies play because he's just that sort of person. His commitment is there to be seen in terms of cricket, which is fantastic. So, as I said, it's going to be Ben Stokes to bowl the first over to David Warner. He runs in, he bowls. And this one's a short delivery and worked off the pads from David Warner, down the leg side to short, fine leg for a single. And Australia are off the mark in the run chase. And very important for Australia to get off to a good start. If they can get off to a good start in the power play, then I think they're on track to win this game. 170. I did see on ESPN Cricket Info, someone said it was a little bit below par, but usually in the Big Bash, it's around about 170, 180, 190. So in the end, it's a pretty good score, but you would probably back Australia. Maybe if there's some dew on the ground, you probably back them to chase it down or just skid on a bit the ball as Stokes bowls to Finch for the first time this evening. This one's a full delivery, driven to the man at cover and Alex Hales for no run. Let's hope Aaron Finch doesn't get run out tonight. That's what happened in game 1. Unfortunately, took on the second run and unfortunately got run out by Sam Curran. Let's hope he doesn't get run out this evening. Han, you say it is unfair that Australia have 2 teams to cheer for. If either Australia or England win, the people are happy. As Stokes bowls to Finch and Finch works us down to third man for a single. And he's off the mark as Warner and Finch are both off the mark. You also say, Han, it might sound nasty, but surely Warner should be getting some nasty bounces here. You would say that, Han, but they don't have Mark Wood. And they don't have anyone with that extra pace. If Mark Wood was playing, you probably think, well, we should probably go upstairs. And he definitely went upstairs in the last game in Perth, and he bowled quite quick, and he got some wickets. He got David Warner out in that game as well. Mark Wood. Stokes bowls to Warner, and Warner. This one just stops a little bit in the pitch. And he catches Warner unawares. In the end, it's a dot ball. 2 balls left. Australia none for 2. And who do you think is going to win? Can Australia chase it down? They're a pretty good chance of doing it. Han says, Jordan does get around the 90-mile-per-hour mark, so he does have pace when he wants to use it. He can bowl very quick, Chris Jordan, if he wants to, as you say, Han. But it's the other bowlers. Can they get pace? That's the thing. You've got medium paces or fast mediums that are not really effective. And that's why England always struggle in Australia in terms of the Ashes and all that, as we saw last summer. It's just their bowlers are not effective. As that ball there from Stokes is a single, and Warner moves on to 2. So that's the question, whether or not they can get some pace in their bowling. They're definitely missing Wood and definitely missing Archer. If they had them in the side, it would have been a very good bowling attack. This one's down the leg side from Stokes, and it's called a wide by the umpire. But that's going to be the struggle for England in this T20 World Cup, is can the bowlers get the wickets and defend the turtles or try to restrict teams? That's the question. They've got a good batting lineup, England. It's their bowling is their Achilles heel. As Stokes, he bowls his last ball of his over. He runs up past the umpire. He bowls. This one's a foolish delivery. And Finch plays this out to cover for no runs. The end of the over, it's none for 4 for Australia after the first over, and it's a good start. A very quiet start, but, got to go steady at the start and get in and get set. Han, you say, I reckon Stokes and Curran could deliver a Nancy bouncer. Well, I know Ben Stokes can bowl a bouncer. We've seen that from him over the years, especially in the last England summer, especially against South Africa. And in that series, he bowled a few bouncers and he got a few wickets with that. Also against New Zealand and also against India. So he can definitely bowl a bouncer when he wants to, Ben Stokes. As David Willey comes into the attack, the left armer, and he's going to be bowling to the left-hander, David Warner. Nice crowd in tonight at Manuka Oval. As David Willey bowls to Warner, he runs up, he bowls. This one's a foolish delivery, and Warner drives it back down to mid-off for no run. Thanks for joining us, everyone. I hope you're well, and I hope you're enjoying the cricket. I think we're in for another exciting game tonight, as we saw in Game 1. A lot of people have been talking about that game over the last few days, with one particular incident, which I think everyone knows what happened. As David Willey bowls to Warner, he bowls, and Warner works this behind square on the leg side for a single. Han, you say, is Manuka Oval the area where Manuka honey is from? I don't think so, Han. I think Manuka honey comes from New Zealand. I think it's just the suburb in Canberra that's named Manuka. So I don't think they do any honey or anything like that. So it's more New Zealand connection there. It's just the name of the suburb in Canberra where the oval is in Manuka. As Willie bowls to Finch, and this one's a wide delivery outside the off stump. Finch hits it straight to Alex Hales at backward point. You say, well, from an Aussie point of view, at least if England or New Zealand win the World Cup, they at least know what a sausage roll is. The other countries are arrogant or ignorant to such wonders. As Willie bowls to Finch, this one's driven to mid-off for no run. So the required run rate for Australia is 9 and over, nearly 9.5. The current run rate's 3. That's understandable because Australia none for 5. We saw in the last game, Australia did well to keep up with the run rate. And unfortunately, the loss of wickets was the problem for Australia in that game. If they didn't lose wickets, Australia, I think they would have won that game against England. So tonight, how would the bowlers go? Willie bowls to Finch. This one's a full delivery, and Finch hits over cover for 4. And that's a very good shot from Aaron Finch. That's his first boundary of the evening. And the Australian skipper is off and running. Very good shot from Aaron Finch. Up and over cover. It was a short delivery there from Willie. Just sat up and Finch was able to hit that over the covers. Willie bowls to Finch. This one's driven or guided through point for a single. That's the end of the second over. Australia are none for 10 after 2. It's a good start in the run chase. Rating the score here for everyone. So 179 for Australia to win. They're none for 10 after 2. Power play, first 6 overs. Got to make the most of it. Han, you say, will Australia win 2 World Cups in October, November? The Rugby League World Cup also starts at the weekend. And when do Australia not win it? Well, we tend to win tournaments, Han, especially in cricket. Australia just better at playing at tournaments, really. As Reece Topley comes into the attack for the first time this evening, he will be bowling to Finch. He runs up, he bowls, and Finch advances down the wicket. This one's down the leg side from Topley. Not a good start. Got his line wrong there. And it's a wide, signalled by the umpire. Yeah, we always have a habit of winning tournaments. As you say, Han, here, I think Australia have won every Rugby League World Cup. Have we? I'm not quite a Rugby League fan myself, Han. As Topley bowls to Finch, this one, Finch mistimes it, and it goes to the man at mid-wicket for a dot ball. As I said, I'm not quite a Rugby League fan myself. I did play rugby in school a bit. Played a bit of tackle rugby, a bit of touch. A couple of times in school, but yeah, not a big fan of the rugby. Cricket's more my cup of tea, if you know what I mean, Han. But as Topley bowls to Finch, this one's worked behind square on the leg side for a single. And Finch moves on to 7. Australia done for 12. Good start in the run chase. They need 9 and over. So the run rate's not a problem at this stage, required run rate. If that gets out to around about 11, 12, 13, then it becomes a problem. But Warner and Finch are in good form, especially David Warner. Last 2 games, West Indies and the first game in Perth, he got 70-odd in both games. So David Warner, as we know, love him or hate him, he's a very quality player. And he knows what he's doing. So he's on 3. Topley about to bowl his third ball. He runs up, he bowls, and Warner hits this to the man at mid-wicket. Moeen Ali does the fielding for no run. Han, you say the Rugby League World Cup is in England. The weather has just turned cold in the last few days. I'm sure the Kangaroos team would love it. Yeah, well, we're not used to that extreme cold, certainly here in Australia. Well, it's definitely cold at the moment, being spring, but once the summer comes, you don't want to be around playing cricket, that's for sure. Topley bowls to Warner. Warner hits this to the man at mid-on for no run. Didn't quite time it, David Warner. And Australia going along nicely. Now, we've got the poll running in the chat. And looking at the poll at the moment, it says Australia 48% to win, England 52%. We've got 23 votes. I'm going to still keep the poll open and then close it and then see what happens. As Topley bowls to Warner, and this one is a play and a miss from Warner, and it's a dot ball. So a very good over from Topley, just the wide and the single. The rest of them have been dots. So a very good start indeed from him in this over. So definitely this partnership between David Warner and Aaron Finch is the key. As Topley gets ready to bowl his final ball of this over. He bowls to Warner, and Warner gets a bit of an outside edge to short third man. In the end, it didn't carry to Darwood Malan, and it's the end of the over. It's none for 12 after 3. None for 12 after 3. And we've got 3 overs remaining of the power play. Australia, none for 12. Hans says England's bowling is way too comfortable to bat against in Aussie conditions. They can be tricky. There can be tricky deliveries, but nothing dangerous. That's right. Just missing that X factor of pace. You need that extra pace. And with Wood and Archer in the side, it would have been a good attack. As Willie bowls to Finch, and this one's a short delivery way outside the off stump. And Finch lets it go to the keeper for a dot ball. So Australia none for 12. England with 4 down for 54 in the power play. So if Australia can get above that in this power play, I think they're on track to chase down this total. 179, you would think that's a good score, good comeback from England, but is it enough? We shall see. As Willie bowls to Finch, this one's a short delivery, and Finch works this around the corner, down to the fine leg boundary for a couple of runs, and he will pick up 2. Good running from Finch and Warner. Very important to run hard between the wickets. And Australia move on to 14 for no loss. Short delivery there, and Finch just worked that down to fine leg for a couple of runs. Just starting to get back to some form, Aaron Finch. As we mentioned, he was struggling for some form. Willie bowls to Finch. This one's banged in short, and it's way wide of Aaron Finch, and the umpire calls a wide. And that's 1 for the over as well for David Willey. So at the moment, Australia don't look troubled. Obviously, we mentioned the bowling from England. A couple of changes then for them tonight. Mark Wood's out. He's been rested. Chris Jordan back in. David Willey in as well for Chris Wokes, as David Willey bowls to Finch. Runs up, he bowls, and this one's down the leg side. Got his line wrong there, Willey. And that's another wide. Back-to-back wides. Can't afford to do that in T20 cricket. Bowl the wides and get the line wrong. You'll really tighten up on the extras. Already 4 wides for England. You want to be disciplined in the bowling. So none for 16 for Australia. Going along steadily in the run chase. Willey runs in. He bowls to Finch. And Finch guides this through point all the way to the point boundary for 4. And that's a very good shot from Aaron Finch. Hit that on top of the bounce. And a very good shot through the point region for 4 runs. Just have a look, short and wide from Willey. And he was able to work that in the point region. Finch got on top of the bounce, and he was able to work that nicely all the way for 4. David Willey not happy about that delivery. Aaron Finch, David Warner, a bit of the fist pump. Willey bowls to Finch. Finch drives straight to Ben Stokes at mid-off, and he's out. Well, that's not the shot to be playing. Aaron Finch is gone, and Australia lose their first wicket in the run chase. They're 1 for 20. And that is the end of Aaron Finch. He's got to go. Well, he batted well in the game against the West Indies in the Gold Coast, Aaron Finch. Made a half century. And then, ever since then, he's made not big scores, not significant scores in terms of scores in the teens, like tonight, 13 odd. I think he made 13, I think. Just not quite getting the elevation on that shot that he needed, Aaron Finch. Yeah, gone for 13 or 13, Aaron Finch. So he's gone. Mitchell Marsh comes to the crease. I thought he batted well in the last game, Mitchell Marsh. Good to see Mitchell Marsh getting some rhythm back with his batting. We know that's That's a key to his batting. He's more of a rhythm player. His brother Sean was a very good player on the eye. Unfortunately for Sean, he didn't have many opportunities and obviously had some injuries as well. But when he needed to play well, he did. Aaron Finch, didn't quite get enough elevation on that. Ben Stokes, a very good fielder, catches that a bit off. So a wicket down for Australia brings Mitchell Marsh to the crease. This is his 41st match. And he's striking at 125.7 in his career. Bowls to Willie. This one's on the pads down the leg side. And Marsh works this behind square on the leg side for a single. Off the mark straight away. Han, you say Aaron Finch looks identical to the English rugby union player James Haskell. They could be twins apart from the height difference. That's interesting to know, huh? Han says, fist pump that one, Finchy. Yes. Well, he's now gone. That brings Mitchell Marsh to the crease. As Willie bowls his last ball to Warner. This one's short. And Warner pulls this to the man at deep square leg for a single to end the over. It's the end of the over. It's 1 for 22. And Australia after 4 overs. 1 for 22. The key for Australia would be to try and maximize his power play. We talk about that a lot in T20 cricket. Maximize the power play. Make sure you don't lose too many wickets and make sure you make the most of the 2 fielders outside the 30-yard circle. And I thought in the last game, David Warner and Mitchell Marsh batted really well in the last game. It was a good partnership of 70-odd. Unfortunately, Mitchell Marsh got out at the wrong time. So hopefully tonight they can do the same again for an Australian perspective. Topley bowls to Warner. This is a top edge. Who's underneath it? Taken by Harry Brook. The young man from Yorkshire takes the catch. David Warner's gone. And in the words of Richie Benaud, they're 2 for 22. That's the end of David Warner. He's gone for 4. And Australia probably just find it a bit tough to adjust to conditions. It's not like the other night where it was good bounce and carry and Perth. It's a bit slower tonight. David Warner mistiming that completely. Top edge and straight to Harry Brook. Takes a very good catch. So David Warner will be disappointed about that. Australia 2 down for 22 runs. So David Warner's gone for 4. And that will bring Glenn Maxwell to the crease, I think. Glenn Maxwell is back into the side now. Yes, it is. Glenn Maxwell. Well, Glenn Maxwell needs some runs, to be honest. He hasn't had a great time of it. This is where I want to see Glenn Maxwell really just knuckle down and bat responsibly. Just frustrates everyone, Glenn Maxwell, when he doesn't do that. I know that's his natural instinct to be aggressive, but just see a few balls and build a partnership with Mitchell Marsh. Not ideal, Australia 2 down for 22, but England were 5 down for 54. So Australia 2 down for 22. So both teams struggling with the bat tonight on this slow surface in Canberra. Not as it was in Perth, as Topley bowls to Maxwell, and Maxwell scurries through for a quick single, and he's off the mark. That's what I want to see from Glenn Maxwell. Smart batting. Run between the wickets, rotate strike. Don't throw it away. And I just want to see that from Glenn Maxwell. It just frustrates me sometimes. He's a good player, Glenn Maxwell. We know the potential he has, but he hasn't fulfilled that at Australian level. And he's a bit underwhelming sometimes. But David Warner there, just mistiming that completely. Very good catch from Harry Brook. Watched it all the way. We've got to say tonight, the fielding's been a bit off from Australia. There were some drop catches. And there were some fielders that nearly caught the ball. In the end, they should have dropped it, but they caught it in the end. Adam Zampa was one of them. At third man, he nearly dropped it. As Topley bowls to Marsh. Marsh drives back down the ground to mid-on for a couple of runs. And he moves on to 3. Han, you say, speaking of players called Mitchell, have you ever seen a crowd get into a player's head like the English fans got to Mitchell Johnson? I can't really remember of any players who got affected by the crowd, Han. I do remember Mitchell Johnson's torment with the Barmy Army as Topley bowls to Marsh, and Marsh dispatches him over the leg, over the mid-wicket boundary for 6. And that's a good shot from Mitchell Marsh. He played some very good shots in the last game in Perth. And that one from Topley got the line wrong into the pads of Marsh. As we have a look on the replay, in the arc. And he was able to hit that down to the deep mid-wicket boundary for 6. Very good shot from Mitchell Marsh. He's not going to miss out on that. No, going back to your point, Han, not really. I know players get affected by it in terms of the crowd and all that, giving them a hard time. As Topley bowls to Marsh, this one's driven past mid-off all the way for 4. And back-to-back boundaries for Mitchell Marsh, a 6 and a 4 here. So Australia just starting to get some momentum back after those couple of wickets they lost of Finch and Warner. But I know Mitchell Johnson. But, as we all remember, Han, in that 2013-14 Ashes series, the Barmy Army weren't tormenting him in that series. I think they were actually applauding him because he had a wonderful series. 37 wickets he took in that series and an average of 13. As Topley bowls to Marsh. This one's a short ball dug into the ribs of Marsh. Marsh tried to hurry for a single, but Topley does the fielding, cuts it off for a dot ball. End of the over. It's 2 for 35 after 5. The Barmy Army had songs for him. I can't repeat it on here. Obviously, it's a family program, huh? But I think everyone knows what the songs were. Han says, I miss umpires standing on one leg when the score is Nelson. Yes, double Nelson. Obviously, David Shepherd is probably the umpire you're referring to there, Han. He used to stand on one leg. David Shepherd. Obviously no longer with us anymore. Obviously a very good umpire. Very well respected by the players. And when I spoke to Darryl Harper last year, he said David Shepherd was one of his favourite colleagues to work with in terms of umpiring. Just a sweet, kind person. And the players got on with him and respected him quite well. He used to do that, used to hop on one leg. As Willie returns, he bowls to Maxwell. This one's flicked through mid-wicket for a couple of runs maybe. Glenn Maxwell's quick. They'll come back for the second. As we know, cricket's a bit of a superstitious game. Obviously, you can't move in the dressing room. When it's Nelson, you've got to hop on one leg, as David Shepherd used to do. Cricket's a funny game in terms of superstitions, in terms of player superstitions. I've got to put on my right pad first, not my left. Other players are a bit different. I've got to put my right hand glove on first rather than my left. All weird things, I should say. As Willie bowls to Maxwell, and Maxwell hurries through for a quick single, works this onto the leg side for 1. So 2 for 38. England were 2 for 34 at this stage. And Australia are favourites. England are favourites to win. It's saying 66% to 34%. You would say with a couple of wickets they've gotten, yes, but Australia do bat deep, and it's a strong lineup. As Willie bowls to Marsh, this one's down on to the leg side into the pads of Marsh. He works it through square leg for a single. He moves on to 14, and Australia 2 for 39. Dr. Jihan, thanks for joining us, Jihan. Hope you're well. You say 23 off the last 2 overs, poor bowling at the death again. Well, I think tonight, Jihan, we saw some different tactics from Australia. I wouldn't have Marcus Stoinis bowl at the death, but I think Aaron Finch was just trying some options, that's all. As Willie bowls to Maxwell, this traps Maxwell onto the pads. There's an appeal by David Willey. Willie's asking Butler for the appeal, but I think Butler says no. I think it's missing the stumps. I don't think we should go upstairs. As I was saying, different tactics tonight with Australia with the ball. But, it's something that they need to work on, which is a good thing. Always you've got to look at things to improve on. As that one hit Maxwell on the back pad, but probably going over the stumps. Did hit him above the knee roll, probably missing the stumps. England chose not to review. Willie Bowls to Maxwell. Maxwell hits him back down the ground over the top of mid-on for a couple of runs. Didn't quite time it. It's the nature of this wicket tonight. It's a bit slow. Couple of runs in the end for Maxwell. Needs some runs. He's under pressure. Let's see if he can pull off a brilliant innings tonight, Glenn Maxwell. We know what he can do. Have a look at that LBW shout. Yeah, pitching outside leg. So good decision not to review that from England. David Willey, last ball of his over and the last ball of the power play. Bowls to Maxwell. Maxwell tries to uppercut this. In the end, he misses it, goes straight through to the keeper for no runs. The end of the over. It's the end of the power play. It's 2 for 41 after 6. It's 2 for 41 after 6, and 179 is required for Australia to win to level the series at 1-1. At the end of the day, both teams not really concerned about winning the series. They're more concerned about preparing for the T20 World Cup, as we know. But, you would like to try and win a game or two. Han, you say, in that Ashes series, the crowd were chanting Mitchell, Mitchell for ages and mocked everything he did. He fell apart. He did turn it around in the return series. He did, and we all know what he did there, Han. That spell he bowled in Adelaide, where he got 7 for 40, is some of the best fast bowling I've seen in my time of watching cricket, obviously. As Adil Rashid comes into the attack, bit of leg spin. He runs up, he bowls to Marsh, and Marsh sweeps him behind square on the leg side for a single. That spell, when he got rid of Stuart Broad, after Stuart Broad complained about something behind the side screen, as soon as Stuart Broad faced, then got out soon after. That was a wonderful sight after what happened in the 2013 Ashes, where Stuart Broad didn't walk at Trent Bridge, obviously. So a lot of people didn't like him in that series. But that was a glorious sight. And what a series. 37 wickets. He bowled like the wind. Unbelievable. No wonder he was the player of the series. What a series from Mitchell Johnson. And a very good bowler. Obviously a bit wayward in his career, but that series was some of the best bowling he ever bowled in his career. As Rashid bowls to Maxwell, Maxwell plays a reverse sweep and doesn't get it past the fielder at square leg there for no run. Han, you say Dom Bess has a superstition of never bowling a good ball. As Rashid continues to Maxwell, he bowls and Maxwell sweeps him through square leg, through mid-wicket, I should say, to the man in the deep for a single. So the required run rate's just gone above 10 for Australia. They've lost a couple of wickets here, but at least they're not 5 down for 54 like England were. So they've got wickets in hand. It's just about building a partnership and seeing what they can do. And Maxwell and Marsh, they're capable. We've seen it in the Big Bash. We've seen it for Australia for many years. As Rashid bowls to Marsh, this one's driven to the man at cover for no run. Han says, if Jordan was on strike and not Willie in that last over, you can add 10 or 12 to that. Yes, you can. Chris Jordan can hit a long ball. As Rashid continues to Marsh, he bowls. Marsh works this through mid-wicket. Looking for 2, but they settle on the single in the end. Raj, hello. Hello, Raj. Hope you're well. John, you say we don't like Stuart Broad. Well, after that incident, many people hated him. But you got to say he's a very good bowler, Stuart Broad. But, after that incident at Trent Bridge, people didn't like him after that. Rashid bowls to Maxwell. Last ball of the over. Maxwell works this onto the leg side, down to wide mid-on for a single to end the over. It's the end of the over. It's 2 for 45 after 7. Australia going along steadily. A couple of wickets have fallen. Warner and Finch are back into the pavilion. And they'll be watching from the sidelines and seeing if Glenn Maxwell and Mitchell Marsh can get the job done. Han, you say the mustache is why he bowled so well. Well, yes, he did. He had a different mentality in that series, Han. I think he talked about it as well. He sung that Frozen song, Let It Go. And he kept saying that to himself. And the results speak for themselves, you know. It was a wonderful display of bowling. And yeah, unreal. Sam Curran into the attack now. As he bowled well in the last game, Sam Curran. Bowled some very good Yorkers and got some wickets. He'll be bowling to Glenn Maxwell. What can he do? He runs up, he bowls. Past the umpire. This one is worked onto the leg side from Maxwell through mid-wicket for a single. He moves on to 8. Glenn Maxwell. Can he bat responsibly tonight? That's the question for the chat. Can Glenn Maxwell get back into some touch? Just having a look at Glenn Maxwell during the warm-ups. He was practicing the reverse sweep. Plays that shot very well. He played it before off Adil Rashid. Glenn Maxwell attending to his bat. Something there on his bat that he didn't like, and he gave something to the umpire. Probably a sticker, maybe a piece of wood out of alignment. But he's at the non-strikers end as he watches Sam Curran bowl to Mitchell Marsh. He runs up, he bowls. This one's a full toss and hit through the covers for 4. That's a poor delivery from Sam Curran. Got what it deserved. Full toss, outside off stump, dispatch it through to the cover boundary for 4, and that's what he did. Marsh is off to a good start, 20 off 10, and we'll get to some of your questions. John, you say catches win matches and tashes win ashes. Of course they do, John. I know someone wrote a song about Mitchell Johnson. It's on YouTube. He's called Dennis or something. He wrote a parody song about Mitchell Johnson's mustache during that Ashes series. It's a good video. It's on YouTube. Just search up that song and you'll find it. As Curran bowls to Marsh. Marsh defends this and there's no run. Han, you say Johnson had a spoff of mustache. He had legendary Ashes power. He did. Fred the spoff of demon took 7 wickets in that test at the Oval, and the Ashes were born in 1882. As Curran bowls to Marsh. This one's driven back down the ground to from Marsh down to the fielder at long off, and the 50 is up for Australia. Jihan. Well, it was only a matter of time before someone asked me about this question about Matthew Wade's obstructing the field. I'll get to that after this ball, Jihan, and I'll offer my response to it. Because a lot of people have been talking about it, but it's created a lot of debate and discussion. Be interesting to get other people's thoughts in the chat as well as we discuss it. Curran bowls to Maxwell. This one's a short ball, and he's out. Glenn Maxwell is gone for 8. Curran gets the wicket. Well, Glenn Maxwell, unfortunately, tonight could not bat responsibly. And he's gone, and Australia 3 down for 51. What are you doing, Glenn Maxwell? The man was out there, and you hit it straight down his throat. Not what Australia needed, and not what Glenn Maxwell needed as he tries to find some form before this T20 World Cup. And let's have a look. It was a short ball from Curran. Maxwell went for the shot, and Alex Hales takes the catch in the deep. A comfortable catch in the end. A poor delivery. And that's not what Australia needed. Glenn Maxwell's gone for 8. And Australia are 3 for 51. Well, we've got to remember, England were 4 for 54. Australia are 3 for 51. As Marcus Stoinis, who batted well in the last game, I thought he batted much better than I've seen him bat for some time. He comes out to the middle, and he needs to do the same as he did in the last game. Australia are 3 for 51, chasing 179. All right, Jihan, Matthew Wade. Okay, look, Jihan, as you say, any thoughts regarding Wade sticking his arm out to block Wood? Wood seemed to get tangled up as well, had hands on Wade too. Yes, it's never good when you stick out a hand. Look, for a moment there, Matthew Wade didn't know where the ball was. He was halfway down the pitch. As the ball was in the air, Butler, Wood were going for the catch. Then Wade realised what was happening, so he had to get back to make his ground as Curran bowls de Stoinis inside edge onto the pads for no run. And he had to make his ground. So I think with Matthew Wade, that's the end of the over. It's the end of the over. With Matthew Wade, if that was reviewed or appealed, which we've got to remember that Buttler did not appeal it. And a lot of people have said, well, he should have done it. But he's the captain. That's his choice. Look, both of them we see that all the time with collisions. But in my opinion, looking at it and with what the law says, it was sort of like willful obstruction there, I think, in terms of, Matthew Wade. He did stick out his arm. It wasn't like he was protecting himself from injury, which he wasn't going to be injured as Adil Rashid continues. He bowls to Marsh and he works this onto the leg side for a single. So it wasn't like he was protecting himself from injury. I could understand that if he was trying to protect himself, if they were both coming at speed. But he wasn't going to get injured. He knew where the ball was. He was out of his ground. He saw Buttler, he saw Wood, he saw the ball in the air. And in the end, he stuck out his arm trying to prevent Mark Wood. Now, they did get a little bit tangled up there, but I think if it was reviewed, he would have been given out obstructing the field. And unfortunately for England, they didn't appeal it. They didn't want to. As Rashid bowls to Stoinis, he defends this back down the pitch to Rashid. And that was his decision. He had every right to appeal that if he wanted to, Buttler. The umpire said to him, do you want to appeal it? He said no. So, look, we're still talking about it after a couple of days after it happened. As Rashid bowls to Stoinis, he sweeps this over deep mid-wicket for 6. What a shot from Stoinis. He's hit a very good shot there to get off the mark and to get his innings going tonight. Good shot. So just finishing up on that, Jihan, if you're listening, yeah, he would have been given out obstructing the field because he wasn't really protecting himself for injury. And as Buttler said, we don't want to create controversy in that. Under the laws, he was out if the third umpire decided on his fate. As Rashid bowls to Stoinis, and he plays a bit of a paddle shot here. Stoinis down to the third man boundary, nearly got all the way for 4. And gets 3 runs in the end. So a very good shot there, very productive from Marcus Stoinis. Bit of a paddle shot there, and good improvisation from Stoinis. So yeah, so it was a very controversial talking point from game 1. But if it was through the normal process in terms of going upstairs, reviewing it, he would have been out. Yeah. Whenever you stick an arm out like that, it's always a big no-no, especially when it's involving another fielder and obstructing the field. So, yeah. As Rashid bowls to Marsh, this one's onto the pads of Marsh, works this through square leg, or through mid-wicket, I should say, for a couple of runs. No, for a single, sorry. So I hope that answers your question there, Jihan. It was a bit of a talking point from game 1, but, anyway, it's already happened. We can't change what happened. In the end, Matthew Wade got out soon after, and Australia lost the game by 8 runs. So at the end of the day, it's not like Australia won and Matthew Wade was still out there. Then it would have been a lot more controversial if that happened. But it didn't, unfortunately, which was probably a good thing in the end, that didn't happen. Because it would have been a lot worse than it was if Matthew Wade was still out there and Australia won the game, and a lot of people would have blown up about this. But look, at the end of the day, the umpires asked Buttler. He said no, and the umpires can't do anything. You've got to remember in cricket, you've got to appeal. If you don't appeal, you can't give someone out, or the umpires can't do anything. They asked Buttler. He said no. So that's his choice. That's his decision. And we know what he said after the game. I don't want to stir up a bit of controversy. We're in Australia for a long time, so we don't want to get on the wrong side of people. And that's his take on it. And a lot of people have expressed their opinions about that incident. As Chris Jordan comes into the attack for the first time this evening. He's going to bowl to Mitchell Marsh. Stuart Broad would look great on Bondi Beach with some zinc oxide and a surfboard. Jealous Aussies. As Chris Jordan's ready to bowl. Raj, doing all right. Watching Doctor Who. I am so confused about the recent games and the sheer amount of it. As Jordan bowls to Marsh. This one's driven down the ground by Marsh to Stokes at long off for a single. England versus Pakistan, 7-game stuff. India, Australia, and South Africa T20s. Then South Africa ODIs. The Tri-Nations T20 series in New Zealand now. And now this. Oh, there's a lot of cricket on, Raj. Obviously build up to the T20 World Cup. We're going to see more and more games being played up until the build up to the first game on Saturday. That's the Super 12 stage on the 22nd of October, when Australia versus New Zealand in the rematch of the final, which should be a good game in Sydney. But yes, definitely a lot of cricket. It's definitely hard to cover everything. As Chris Jordan's at the top of his mark, he's about to bowl his second ball to Storness. Runs up, he bowls, and Storness gets this past the fielder at cover. Man in the deep will cut it off for a couple of runs. Moves on to 11. Raj, you say, I am just so overwhelmed on what to follow. Yeah, it's the way cricket is at the moment. Too much cricket on. International calendar, schedule. And there's a lot of cricket on for everyone to watch and absorb. So, yeah, definitely a lot of cricket on, that's for sure. Probably too much. Hans says, that's a poor delivery by Sam Curran. Yeah, kind of the story of his career. As Jordan bowls to Storness, and Storness cuts him away through the point region for 4. And that's another boundary for Australia. Marcus Storness, he's getting some runs. He's been under pressure, Marcus Storness. And it's good to see him get some runs. I thought he batted well in the last game in Perth. Jihan, you see, getting bounced out by Sam Curran is embarrassing. Yes, it sadly was a soft dismissal there by Maxwell. Definitely not his best shot. As Jordan bowls to Storness, he drives this delivery through the covers for a single. And Australia need 179 to win. They're 3 for 70 at the halfway mark, just about. 2 balls left until the end of the 10th. John, you say we're certainly giving away some soft wickets. Yes, it's hasn't been great with the batting thus far. But Storness and Marsh have done well to get back on track here. You also say John Butler's comments on the incident were interesting. Raj, you say bit rich from England, made laws centuries ago, and now they decide if they want to use it or not, be it non-strikers run out or obstructing the field. As Jordan bowls to Marsh, this one's a wide delivery and called wide by the umpire. John, you say, reluctantly, I gave him out from my lounge room. I sort of did as well watching it, John, obviously being an umpire myself. At the end of the day, if it meets the criteria of the law, when you stick an arm out like that, it always looks bad. But I think if it was referred upstairs, it would have been out. That's for sure. As Jordan bowls to Marsh, and Marsh hits this ball through the covers for another single. So Australia going along steadily, trying to rebuild in this partnership after the loss of 3 wickets thus far of Finch, Warner, and now Maxwell just departed a few overs ago. Raj says that's the 13th game, I think, Australia versus New Zealand. Yes, it is, Raj. 13th game of the tournament. Technically the first game of the Super 12 stage of the tournament. Jordan bowls to Storness. This one's down the leg side and another wide. Didn't quite get it right in this over, Chris Jordan. That's a couple of wides now for him. And 11 runs from the over. So not a great start for him in his first over of the match. He'll be looking to finish off the over if he can. Get away with it with a dot ball. Hopefully not concede a boundary. As Jordan bowls to Storness. And this one's cut away through point for 4 runs. Well, as soon as I said that, he concedes a boundary, Chris Jordan. He was short and wide outside off stump, cut away from Marcus Stoinis for 4 runs. That's going to be the end of the over, and it's going to be drinks. I'm not sure why we're having a drinks break in a T20. But anyway, it's the end of the over. It's 3 for 77 after 10, and it's going to be drinks. I think both teams at the start of the series agreed with the match referee, David Boone, that can we have a drinks break after 10 overs? It's certainly what happened in the last game. But we'll get through your questions in the chat that you may have for me as we have this drinks break. John, you say Australia also hasn't really had a big summer of cricket for several years now. Yeah, we've always had summers where we haven't had much cricket on, but definitely this summer it's a lot of cricket on. Domestic cricket, also the international cricket as well with Australia men's and women's teams. Also BBL, WBBL, which is starting very shortly. And obviously the T20 World Cup as well. So it's definitely a big summer this summer. A lot of cricket on, that's for sure. Han, you say, as an umpire, are you not allowed to give someone out if there's no appeal? Han, under the laws, under appeals, you're not allowed to give anyone out if they don't appeal. If the fielding side doesn't appeal, as an umpire, you can't give them out. So, for example, and it has happened in test matches where someone's nicked the ball and hit the cover off it and no one appealed. And the umpire probably knew, oh, that's out, but no one appealed. I can't give them out because no one's appealed from the fielding side. It's the same with LBWs, run-outs and stumpings. If no one's appealed, you can't go upstairs and, in terms of international cricket, you can't go upstairs and review it because no one's appealed. So I hope that's answers your question, Han, because as we know in cricket, you can't answer an appeal as an umpire if no one's appealed. So that's the laws. In the case with Butler and what happened in the last game with Wade, I know we've been talking about that. The umpires did say, do you want to appeal it? Butler said no. So as soon as Butler said no, and that's his choice as the captain, the umpires couldn't do anything about it. I think some people commented about that and said maybe the umpires should have used their common sense and go upstairs. Clearly, they don't know what the law is under appeals. The umpires can't do anything if there was no appeal because Butler said we don't want to appeal it. So that's the end of the matter. And that's why they didn't go upstairs for Matthew Wade's obstructing the field. As Rashid continues after the drinks break, bowls to Stoinis. Second ball of the over now. First ball was a single off Marsh. And Stoinis sweeps this onto the leg side to the man in the deep for a single. Australia will be looking to continue on with this partnership and hopefully win this match if they can level the series. So I hope that answers your question, Han. Some of the players, you say, Han, looked like they had a drinks break before the match. Rashid bowls to Marsh, and this one's hit into the stands for 6 in front of the Sir Donald Bradman Pavilion here at Manuka Oval. It's gone all the way for 6. What a blow from Mitchell Marsh, a hefty blow, and he's hit that many a mile in front of the Sir Donald Bradman Pavilion, and I think someone caught it in the crowd, which I think is a pretty good catch from that gentleman there. Let's have a look at the shot. Very good shot from Marsh. A slog sweep over the top for 6. That's what Australia needed. A few more of those. So Rashid, an expensive over. 7-8 off it now. 2 singles and a 6. He bowls to Marsh. This one's worked through mid-wicket. Marsh looking for 2, but he settles for the single. Moves on to 33. And Australia. This partnership now between Stoinis and Marsh, 35. That was a wrong-un from Adil Rashid. That ball that went for 6, so he picked it well, Mitchell Marsh. Knew it was the wrong-un. And he was able to execute the shot very well. Over the square leg boundary for 6. So, Australia still in this. 3 down for 86. They're a good chance of chasing it down. Rashid bowls to Stoinis, a quick single for Stoinis. This is worked onto the leg side, down to mid-on. No one was there. Adil Rashid had to do the fielding himself, and he cuts it off for a single. Raj, you say, I think that's the best part of gully cricket, no umpires. As Rashid bowls to Marsh. Last ball, the 11th. Runs up, he bowls. And Marsh pushes this back down the ground for a single. They're thinking about the single. There was a bit of a collision between Stornis and Rashid there as Rashid was trying to field the ball. But in the end, they run the single to end the over. End of the over, it's 3 for 88 after 11. And Australia, 179 to win. They're making a good fight of this. Han says, so even if a player is clean bowled, you can't raise the finger unless a player appeals. I think it's pretty straightforward with bowls, Han. I think it's only for Corporal Hines and LBWs. You know, if you're bowled, it's pretty straightforward, isn't it? Because you're bowled. You don't need to appeal for that because you're out. So it's not for bowls. It's only for LBWs and courts and runouts and stumpings and that, obstructing the fields, hit wickets. You need to appeal for those. Not so much for bowled. I think it's fairly obvious, I think. As Sam Curran's back into the attack and he gets hit. Oh! What a magnificent piece of fielding from Ben Stokes. I thought that was going to be 6. And what a piece of fielding. He saved 6 runs there. Well, what a piece of fielding from Ben Stokes. He's pretty good in the field. Sam Curran. That would have been 6 runs. He would have caught it as well, Ben Stokes. I'm just going to have a look at the replay. Mitchell Marsh hit this straight up into the air, down to the long off boundary. Ben Stokes was there. He got a hand to it. He nearly caught it. Oh, he did have it. Oh, that would have been a magnificent catch if the boundary was pushed back a lot closer to the fence. That would have been the all-time greatest catch we've ever seen. What a catch. Unfortunately, it's not out, because he saved 6 runs there, Stokes, but what an effort. Curran bowls to Marsh, and Marsh hits this through the mid-wicket region for a single. Well, that was some piece of fielding from Ben Stokes. I got to say, he had it in the one hand, and that would have been a great catch, if not for the boundary rope. Oh, he had it as well, and then he threw it back to save 6 runs. That's a good piece of fielding. John, you say even the umps asking Butler might strike him close to the law, in my opinion. Well, in that case, John, they just wanted to make sure if he wanted to go through with it. I think that's why the umpires wanted to ask him. It's Curran bowls to Stornis, and this one's a dot ball. So in the opinion of the umpires, they were asking Butler because they wanted to make sure that he wanted to go through with it. Because no one really appealed. As soon as it happened, no one really appealed. They sort of inquired and said, oh, how's that? They didn't really appeal all that much. So the umpires asking him if he wanted to go through with it. They just wanted to make sure, as we go back with the law, you got to appeal. And that's the end of Marcus Stornis. He's hit it straight to the man in the deep. A very poor shot. Not what Australia needed. They lose their 4th wicket, and Australia are 4 for 91. Well, Australia tonight, it's been a bit poor with the batting. I got to say, some of the wickets have been given, I think, tonight. It's been poor shot selection. Marcus Stornis there, toe into the bat, didn't quite time it. Man in the deep, takes a very good catch. It's Harry Brook. And I got to say, tonight the batting's been poor from Australia. And that is the end of Marcus Stornis. He's gone for 22. It's 4 for 91. Okay, we've got Matthew Wade coming out to the middle. Now, we all know about Matthew Wade, his finishing skills. We were just talking about Matthew Wade. No, sorry, my mistake. Tim David. Sorry, I forgot about Tim David. He's the new batter out of the crease. My mistake there. Not Matthew Wade. He's coming in next. Tim David. Played for Singapore, now playing for Australia. We certainly need his power ability now, if you're an Australian supporter. But I've got to say that the batting tonight from Australia has been a bit poor. Wickets been given to England, I think. Poor shot selection and just poor awareness, really, tonight. That's something that Australia need to iron out going into the T20 World Cup. It just frustrates me when batters just play a bit recklessly. Just be a bit smart. You don't need to do that. Good partnership, and you threw it away. Curran to David, and he works this to the mid-wicket region, I should say, for a single. He's off the mark. Mitchell Marsh and Tim David, they can certainly do it. You wouldn't say 4 for 92. Australia need 179 to win. Mitchell Marsh and Tim David at the crease. We know what they can do. Powerful hitters. So going back to your point there, John, they just wanted to make sure, that's all. Because they can't act on anything if no one's appealed, because no one really appealed at the time it happened. So they just wanted to make sure, that's all. And Butler said, no, we don't want to go through with it. So that was the end of the matter. Speaking about the end of the matter, it's the end of the over. It's 4 for 92 after 12. And Australia, not ideal to lose Marcus Stoinis here. I thought he batted okay in the first game. Game 2, he looked like he was going to get some more runs than he did in game 1. Unfortunately, he played a shot that he shouldn't have played. Straight to the man in the deep. Harry Brook took the catch. It's 87 off 48. Now, you would say with Tim David and Mitchell Marsh at the crease, with their power ability, you would say they'll probably give this a good crack. But it's not bad. I don't mind this, that Australia's being tested this evening. I think that's good. Leading into a T20 World Cup, Australia may be presented with this type of situation in the tournament. So it's good to be under pressure. Rashid bowls to David. He drives this back to Rashid, who does well to cut it off for no run. Dot ball, Tim David. What can he do? Han, you say, what is classed as an appeal? Is it a player just putting his hands in the air, celebrating counted? Yes. You don't, well, if you say, how's that? Then that counts as an appeal. You say, how's that? You know, we've all done that. As Rashid bowls to David, this is going straight to the cover boundary for 4. And very good shot from David. That's his first boundary. Poor delivery from Rashid. So basically, if you jump up and down, you scream, you yell, you say, how's that to the umpire, as we all do, then that classes as an appeal. So if you make some noise and you jump up and down and you say, how's that, or some other things, or yell or scream, then that's an appeal. Because you're asking the question to the umpire, how's that? Is he or she out? And then the umpire will make their decision. So I hope that answers your question, Han. As back-to-back boundaries are being hit here from Tim David. The 100 up for Australia. They need 79 more runs to win. Poor delivery again from Rashid. Another boundary. He's been a bit off, Adil Rashid, tonight. He's been a bit expensive. This one was that was the first boundary hit through the covers. This one was hit back down the ground by David. Straight back down the ground for 4. As Rashid bowls to David, he glides this to the onside for a quick single, and he'll get there. Overthrows. No, that's a no-no. You can't afford to do that. Overthrows. They'll pick up an extra run. Should have been a single. In the end, it's 2 runs. Poor backing up from England. Bit sloppy in the field there. Good pick up and throw from Moeen Ali. Tim David was well in his crease. Adil Rashid could not back that up. And in the end, he concedes an extra run. Rashid bowls to David. He pulls this to the man in the deep on the leg side for a couple of runs. Didn't quite carry to that fielder in the deep, but a couple of runs. So this partnership, they've gotten off to a good start. So going back to your point there, Han, I think, I hope that answers your question. So if you yell, scream, say, how's that? Jump up and down, raise your hands. The umpire says, okay, they've appealed. I'll make my decision. As Rashid bowls to David, David defends this for no run. Very good over from Australia. Much needed over. An expensive over from Adil Rashid. That's the end of his 4 for tonight. None for 38 from 4 overs. Bit expensive. We've got 7 overs left. It's 4 for 104. I think we're in for another exciting finish, I hope. to this match. Let's try and get through many people's questions in the chat. Han says, Gabe has never appealed to anyone. Dr. Jihan says, losing wickets to this Sam Curran trash. John says, just an example, I used to play indoor cricket. Simple, clean, bowled. Our fielding team said nothing. It was given. Yeah, pretty much. If it's clean bowled, you don't need to appeal because it's pretty straightforward. It's only for those other dismissals like obstructing the field, hit wicket, caught behinds, I should say. What else? LBWs. You need an appeal. For bowled, not so much. Pretty straightforward. As Jordan bowls to Marsh, and Marsh hits this through the point region for a couple of runs. It was a tight second run there, but he's home. And the umpire is going to have a check. Now, this sort of reminded me of the last game where Aaron Finch went for the second run and got run out. But I think he's safe here, Mitchell Marsh. It was a tight second run. I think he's home. But the third umpire will be the adjudicator of it. Let's have a look. They were a bit hesitant to run the second run. Mitchell Marsh comes. Does he get his bat down? Yes, he does. That's fine. And Butler had to take the ball in front of him and then put it back onto the stumps like that. Sort of like an MS Dhoni, where he just palms it back to the stumps. That took a bit of time off there. So Mitchell Marsh was safely home. Raj, how much did Warner get? Look that up for you, Raj. I think he got 4 as Jordan bowls to Marsh. And this one's hit up in the air. Down to Ben Stokes at long off for a single. 72 of 40 for Australia need in this match. Just having a look for you, Raj. See how much David Warner got tonight. I think he got 4 from memory. Let's have a look. So here we go. We've got 4 balls left of Chris Jordan's over. Australia, 4 for 107. For you, Raj, David Warner, yes, he did get 4. He got out for 4. Caught by Harry Brook, bowled by Reece Topley. For 4 runs off 11 balls. That's Jordan bowls to David. David drives this straight back to Chris Jordan, who does the fielding, and there's no run. Yes, thank you, Han. Yes, he was out for 4. Han, you say, I've heard some how's that's be oohs and ahs. Yeah, that classes as an appeal as well. As long as you're asking the question to an umpire. That's the main thing. Then the umpire will just answer the appeal. So as long as you're just asking the question. But you've got to make sure, and I have watched, this is a no ball from Chris Jordan. Yep, that foot's on the line. That's a no ball, free hit. So it's a no ball. So a free hit for Tim David. Chris Jordan, unsure about that. He's not happy about that. But it is a no ball. It was on the line. You've got to have some part of the foot behind that line. The line belongs to the umpire. As we have a look again, it's a tight one, but I think, yes, he slides forward. Not behind the line there. As Jordan bowls to David, free hit. He gets away with it, Jordan. And David hits it straight back into the feet of Chris Jordan. In the end, they'll pick up a single only off the free hit. So no damage done for England. John, you say, just an example. I used to play indoor cricket. Simple, clean, bowled. Our team said nothing. I looked at the ump. He haven't given it out. So I casually just asked, how is he? Wet the finger. Yeah. So you just got to ask a question to the umpire. Just, how's that? Was he out, not out? And then we're all good. As I was saying about that, I did see something on an umpiring seminar, a video that I watched when they did talk about what classes to be in an appeal or not. So as an umpire, you've got to be wary of that, and understand the law in terms of what constitutes an appeal or not. As Jordan bowls to Marsh, this one's hit back down the ground for 4, down to long off, and Ben Stokes doesn't cut it off, and it goes into the fence for 4. And Mitchell Marsh, 44 off 26. He's the key batter now for Australia, as Australia try and chase down 179. After this, we got 6 overs. This could be going down to the wire. This was up in the air, down to long off. Ben Stokes does very well. In the end, couldn't cut it off. He took a bit of a heavy fall down onto the ground, Ben Stokes. But he seems to be okay. As we know with Ben Stokes, he's had some problems with his knees, but he's okay. Chris Jordan now, 4th ball. Now he's 5th into Marsh. He bowls, and Marsh works this behind square on the legs, behind square on the offside, I should say, for a dot ball. The man at backward point cut it off. Very good effort from Ben Stokes. Just couldn't pull it in, just couldn't cut it off. And in the end, it was 4 runs in the scorebook. So it's 66 off 37. You would say that's not out of reach in these modern day times. You would say that's pretty achievable. And as Jordan bowls his last ball to Marsh, Marsh works this through the covers for a quick single. It's the end of the over. It's 4 for 114 after 14 overs. We've got 6 overs left of this match. Can Australia level the series at 2-2, or can England win the series? With 1 game remaining, which will be on Friday, back here at Manuka Oval. No worries, John. No worries. I thought you retyped it. Yep. No worries. Han, you say Gabe claims he is an Aussie fan, but I'm guessing it is because he feels a kinship with Ned Kelly. Thanks for that, Han. As Australia, we've got 6 overs left of this match. Can Australia chase down these runs? So Ben Stokes is back into the attack. He bowled the first over of the match, or the innings, I should say. He bowls to Marsh. And is it out? It is out. That's the end of Marsh. He's gone for 45. Stokes gets a wicket. First ball, back into the attack. And he's gone for 45. Mitchell Marsh, I've got to say, it was another poor shot there. You know, the Australian batsmen tonight have been hitting it straight to the fielders. And the shot selection tonight from Australia has not been good. If that's one criticism of the batting tonight, you have to say the shot selection has not been good. Mitchell Marsh gone for 45. And he's on his way. All right, Matthew Wade arrives at the crease. Can Matthew Wade, the finisher, get the job done again? Well, for Australia, he's got a need to do it again. Nearly did it in the last game in Perth. He's out there with Tim David, who we know is a powerful hitter himself. Matthew Wade, a bit of controversy as we were discussing from the last game. Hopefully, it doesn't happen again tonight. But he's out there. He'll be on strike. Matthew Wade, can the finisher do it again? Han, you say in T20 with some of the awful failed Yorkers, you can always get a quick 30 runs in a few balls. Yes, a lot of bowlers haven't quite executed their Yorkers. And that's the risk with the Yorker. It can be a low full toss or a full toss. That's why we don't see many bowlers bowl Yorkers these days. They tend to bowl variations, slower balls, rather than just the good old-fashioned Sandshoe crusher, as we saw from Jeff Thompson back in the day. As Stornis bowls to Wade, this one's a dot ball. Stokes bowls to Wade, I should say. It's a dot ball. 65 for 34. Can Australia do it? Yet again with Australia, a batting collapse, a few lapses with the batting tonight. I got to say, it's poor shot selection, picking out the fielders. Got to be better than that, I think. I suppose it doesn't really matter. I suppose, this series is just a warm-up match and a series. As Stokes bowls to Wade, he pulls this. Behind square on the leg side, won't go to the boundary. Malan will cut it off for a single. And Matthew Wade's off the mark. Han, you say the Aussie top order is playing so badly that the middle order has to take risks to make up for it. I agree with that, Han. Yes, the top order tonight hasn't been good. Maxwell was poor again. Warner has been in good form. He's been scoring some runs, just played a poor shot. Same with Finch, Marcus Stoinis, and Matthew Wade. And Mitchell Marsh, should say. As Stokes bowls to David, this is beaten. The man at backward point. Not backward point, sorry. What am I saying? Has beaten the man at short, fine leg for 4. As Tim David helped that around the corner. And Moeen Ali there at short, fine leg. Couldn't cut that off. It went past him and 4 runs. So Tim David gets the boundary. And Australia, you would say with David and Wade at the crease, you would say it's still achievable. They need 11 runs and over, though. Need a big over. So it's just like what happened in the last game. As Wade and David go about things at the middle, trying to get Australia back into this match. Stokes bowls to David, and David doesn't quite time it, sprays out to the covers for no run. So Ben Stokes, he's done pretty well with the ball tonight, 1 for 9. From his 2 and a bit overs. That's far, about to complete his second over. Han, you say the England lineup seems to be if Butler fails, Malan will make up. If he fails, Moeen will do it. It seems like that, as it was tonight. Stokes bowls to David. This one's pushed back down the ground for a single to mid-on. End of the over. It's 5 for 120 after 15. We've got 5 overs left. And not ideal to lose Mitchell Marsh in that last over. He batted well, Mitchell Marsh, but unfortunately, again, for Australia, he got out at the wrong time. We just having a look at the wickets. Aaron Finch was the first to go for 13. Poor shot, didn't quite get enough elevation on it. David Warner got a top edge, and he got caught by Harry Brook for 4, which was a very poor dismissal. Glenn Maxwell tried to pull this ball. He hit it straight to the man at deep square leg there, and he was gone. Marcus Stoinis was gone. He pulled this and got caught in the deep. And Mitchell Marsh, the last wicket to go, picked out the man at deep square leg in Sam Curran off the last over. So tonight, you have to say that the batting from Australia a bit poor. Could have been a lot better. I think Australia would learn a lot from that. But as I keep saying, we can't rely on Wade all the time. And that's the thing, we can't rely on him all the time to get us out of a jam. The last game, he nearly got Australia over the line. Unfortunately, got out, and by then the tail enders were in, and then Australia lost the game after that. So he can do it, Matthew Wade. He's always reliable. Can he do it tonight? Tim David, I would like to see what he can do now. As he faces Topley, he comes back into the attack, and David slashes this to the man at deep cover for a single. Just swung the bat at that, gave it everything he got in terms of energy and trying to hit that ball out of the ground if he can, or hit it to the boundary. So 58 off 29 for Australia to win. You would say that 179 score looking good for England. But as we know in T20 cricket, anything can happen. Is there a twist and a turn in this match? We shall see. As Topley bowls to Wade, this one's down the leg side and it's a wide. Australia will take that. They'll take the extra runs. Well, thanks everyone for joining us. It's been a great watch-along live stream as always, as we watch the second T20 between Australia and England, which is not done yet. Anything could happen. Let's see what Australia can do as Wade faces Topley, pulls this behind square on the leg side for a single. Excuse me. For a single, and David Willey does the fielding. And there's only one run. Well, 5 for 123 after 15.2 overs. Australia, they'll be hoping Tim David, Matthew Wade can get them over the line. And let's see what they can do. Topley to David, and he drives this through the covers for 4. Yes, it is a boundary for Tim David. That's what Australia needed. And that's a good shot from David through the covers for 4. The man there, the fielder in the covers there, could not cut that off, and it's 4 runs. Well, he races to 24 or 14, Tim David, and this is what he's done in the previous 2 games against England in the first game. Oh, sorry, against the West Indies in the game of the Gabba. He got a quick fire 40 odd off not many deliveries. Tonight, same again. Off to a good start, but for Tim David, needs to go on with it and get Australia over the line if he can with Matthew Wade, who's on 2. Topley bowls to David. This one's wide outside the off stump. David gives himself room. And the man at deep point, David Willey, would cut it off for a couple of runs. And he races to 26. It's 50 off 26. For Australia to win now. 50 off 26. Dr. Jihan, you say this is the partnership. If they break this, should be England's game unless Wade or David do something heroic on their own. I agree with you there, Jihan. There's nothing much to come after this. You've got the bowlers. So definitely this is the partnership if Australia aren't to win this match. So I agree with you there, Dr. Jihan. As David and Wade, they can do it. They are capable. And obviously this partnership, if we remember that game in India and Mohali, where Australia chased down 200, they got the job done. As Topley bowls to David, and David cuts this ball through the covers, and the man at deep cover will cut it off for a single. Going back to that game in Mohali, different surface, of course, different conditions. The game was in India. But Matthew Wade and Tim David got the job done over there. So at least they've batted with each other. They know how to operate between each other in terms of the partnership. And we're seeing that tonight. Tim David's done most of the scoring. As Topley bowls to Wade. Wade hits this to mid-on for a single. It's the end of the over. It's 5 for 131 after 16. We've got 4 overs left. Australia are 5 for 131. They need 48 runs. 48. More runs to win. Can they do it? As Jihan says, this is the partnership. This partnership breaks, you probably think it's England's game to win. Or to lose, I should say. With this partnership in at the moment, you would think England will be wary of this partnership. They need to break it. Chris Jordan back into the attack. What can he do? He's got none for 25 from his 2. Coming in for his first game of the series. Didn't play in Perth. So he'll be hoping to get back and get some wickets and get some form into the T20 World Cup. So Sam Curran, Chris Jordan, David Willey, Reece Topley, Ben Stokes, Adil Rashid have been the bowling options used tonight for England. So Butler using all his options at his disposal. As Jordan bowls to Wade, this one's banged in short. Wade hits this behind square on the leg side for a single. The run rate now is 12 and over. So Australia would need a big over right now, which is fairly straightforward. Need a big over. If this over can go for 12, which is the required rate, or even more, maybe 20, then you would say Australia are not out of this. 47 off 23. They will need this to be a big over. And David and Wade will really need to start finding the boundaries. and try and maximize this over if they can. As Jordan bowls to David. This one's worked behind square on the leg side for a couple of runs. David moves on to 29. John, you say, I think this is England's game to lose right now. 4 overs to go. Yes. Well, after this, 3 overs to go. And you would say that if they have a good over here, another good over, then you'll probably say it's England's going to win. But you never know with Tim David and Matthew Wade at the crease. It could change pretty quickly in this over. As Jordan bowls to David, this one traps David onto the pads and it's a dot ball. Han, you say Jordan and Curran can bowl a dumb wide or a stupid full toss, so Australia can easily get back into this. Yes. At the moment, Jordan's done pretty okay at the start of this over. But it's not a bad thing that Australia are being tested tonight, but my concerns is with the batting again. Yet again, batting collapses and losing wickets at the wrong time. Australia can't afford to keep doing that. It's the frustrating thing with Australia at the moment. Losing wickets at the wrong time. It's sort of what happened in the last game. And it's happened again tonight. Jordan bowls to David. This is worked onto the leg side. Through square leg for 4. Yes. I think that's 4, I think. He did well to cut that off, but I think it crossed the boundary rope. We'll have a check. If it's a boundary, it's a much-needed boundary for Australia. Sam Curran does the fielding. Looks a bit ginger, but I think he's okay. Let's have a look. Did well. Now, did it cross the rope? I think, oh, yeah. The ball touched his body as he touched the rope, so I think that's going to be 4 runs. And let's have a look. So Curran fields the ball, brings it back into the field of play, but the ball brushes his stomach, and as his arms hit the rope, it's 4 runs. So that's going to be a boundary. He did very well there. Very good effort in the field there from Sam Curran. Unfortunately, it'll be 4 runs, though, I think. It touched his body, the ball, as soon as he touched the rope with his arms. Let's have a look. Yeah, that's brushed his underside of his stomach. And the ball, yeah, I think that's going to be 4 runs. I think that's going to be a boundary at the end of the day. And yep, 4 runs signaled by the umpire. So good decision there, 4 runs. So 41 off 20 for Australia. Need a big over here if they can. Big over required. So Tim David, 2 balls left of this over. What can he do? He's 33 off 19. Wade's 4 off 5. He's been the main aggressor in this partnership. Jordan bowls to David, and it's hit over the rope for 6. Over cover for 6. And that's what Tim David can do. It's 35 off 19. It's a 6. It's an expensive over from Jordan. 10, 12, 13 off it with 1 ball left. David, this is what he can do, Tim David. That's why Australia wanted him in this T20 side. Very good shot. And Jordan just getting the line and the length wrong. And, nearly caught in the crowd. He just dropped it, but good effort there. But a much-needed 6 from David. What can he do? Can he hit another boundary? 6 again or a 4? 35 off 19. You would say, well, if Australia hit a 6 here, 31 off 18 or a boundary, then you're probably saying, well, they're not out of this. They're 5 for 144. I know everyone would say, it's England's game to win or lose here. You can't discount Australia with David and Wade at the crease. Jordan bowls to David. This one's banged in short. David works it behind square. Try to swat it. Unfortunately, didn't quite time it, but he gets a single to finish the over. It's the end of the over. It's 5 for 145. We've got 3 overs remaining of this match. Can Australia win this game? Can they level the series? Can England win the series tonight? But you have to say Australia doing a good job. Fighting as always. We associate that with Australia not giving up until the end. Han, you say Gabe's voice. Oh, Jordan. Well, yes, it would be interesting to see what Gabe would think about this game now if he was streaming. He would be obviously going for Australia, of course. And he will be a bit nervous, seeing if Australia can get over the line here. But that was a very good shot from Tim David. 78 metres, he hit that. And very good shot. He's a powerful hitter, Tim David. And good to see him get his opportunity playing for Australia at this level. So hopefully he can have a very good T20 World Cup. He's on strike now to Sam Curran. What can he do here? Curran bowls to David. David hits this to Moeen Ali on the ring in the covers for a dot ball. So this over, I think this 18th over, has to be a big one. It has to be an over where they really target Sam Curran. And then who do you think England will go back to? Maybe a Topley, maybe a Stokes. Maybe he's only bowled a few overs tonight, Stokes. Be interesting to see who they go back to. Maybe Jordan again, as Curran bowls to David. As Curran bowls to David, and he's bowled him. And that's the end of Tim David. He's gone for 40. He's clean bowled around his legs. He exposed his leg stump. And Sam Curran, as he did in the last game, takes a wicket when England needed it the most. Now, you would say, for Tim David, he was looking pretty good, but that was a good delivery. It was full. It was on the base of leg stump. And he knocked over the leg stump. Sam Curran executing at the death when it mattered the most. Tim David, he's gone for a quick fire 40. That's not what Australia needed. They needed him to bat out there and stay there with Matthew Wade. Unfortunately, he's got to go. And England, you would say now, are favourites to win the series and win this match. But Matthew Wade's still out there. And the finisher, Matthew Wade, what can he do? Can he get Australia over the line? I hope he can from an Australian point of view. But look, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter if Australia win or lose this game. It was just like the first game. All that matters is preparation. And I think England will be glad of performing well tonight. But I think they should not be complacent either. I think there's some areas of them, for them, they need to improve on. Their batting tonight was poor. Didn't quite adjust to conditions. It's something that they need to address going into game 3, which will be back here on Friday at Manuka Oval. Okay, Sam Curran to Pat Cummins. What can Pat do? He can hit a big ball. He bowls Curran to Cummins, and Cummins gets trapped on the crease. This one hits Cummins in the midriff for no run. It's now 34 off 15, Pat Cummins. He can tee off. We've seen that in the IPL. That quick fire 50 for the Kolkata Knight Riders. He needs to hit one out of the ground here and get Matthew Wade on strike. With 2 overs remaining, you never know. This game could go either way, but you never know. Cummins pulls this to the man in the deep on the leg side for a single. And that's a good thing for Australia. Get Matthew Wade on strike. Han, you say Gabe would be ranting. Jordan is trash. Maxwell is garbage, for the love of Pete. Yeah, he would be. He would be saying that. Han, you say Jordan has been hit for 13 and over. No way. Use him in the 19th. Yes, he's gone for a few runs tonight, Chris Jordan. It'd be interesting to see what England do here. Curran bowls to Wade. This one wraps Wade on the pads. And they'll run the leg by. So Sam Curran getting that crucial breakthrough. Han, you say, I guess Sam Curran is getting a nice contract for the BBL later in the year now. It looks like it. He has played I believe he's played in the Big Bash, I think, Sam Curran. I can't remember for who. I know his brother Tom played for the Sydney Sixers, but I think Sam played in the Big Bash, maybe. I could be wrong there. Curran bowls to Cummins. He drives his back down to long off. for a single, gets Wade back on strike. Dr. Jihan, you say the 23 off the last 2 overs could end up being the difference. Same when Sam's got hit by Wokes in the 20th at Optus. Yes, that could be the difference. I don't know why Marcus Stoinis was used at the death tonight, but I can understand Aaron Finch trying different players in different positions and different roles. And look, these games, as we know, are warm-up matches, and I think you want to try and experiment. If Australia go down tonight, I think they'll be disappointed. You want to win every game you win. But I think for Australia, they've got some areas to work on. They're a strong team, but the batting in some parts is a bit questionable. That needs to be fixed before the first game against New Zealand because, Australia's a strong team. They're favourites to win this T20 World Cup at home. As Reece Topley bowls to Cummins, he'll bowl the 19th. Cummins pulls this onto the leg side for a single, gets Wade on strike. Can Matthew Wade do it? It's 30 off 11. We've seen what he can do in that World Cup semi-final against Pakistan. T20 World Cup semi-final last year in Dubai. That was some unbelievable finishing and hitting from Matthew Wade. Can he do it tonight? Going to be a bit of a stretch, but you never know. Funny things have happened in this game. England, for them, it's about trying to nail their plans. Let's try and execute our plans here. Topley bowls to Wade, a full delivery. Wade drives this back down to Jordan at mid-off for a quick single. Very good delivery from Topley. Executing his plan. His plan is to bowl full, get it into the block hole, and not give any width or anything at all of that nature to Matthew Wade, because if you do that, he's going to pounce on it. Let's have a look at this delivery. Back of the hand, slower ball it was. Good change up of pace. As Wade gets a single. Cummins back on strike. Topley bowls to Cummins. Cummins pulls this onto the leg side again, down to the deep mid-wicket boundary. They'll pick up another single. Australia 6 for 152. It's 27 off 9. John says the problem is we are relying too much on Wade as the closer. I agree with that, John. The top order needs to do more. Han says, I guess Curran is getting the 20th over here. It looks like it. Han, you say Sam Curran, 3 wickets on 3 overs at 4 runs per over. As Topley bowls to Cummins. Cummins drives this back down the ground. The man at long on will cut it off for 2. Pat Cummins needs to hit this out of the ground, I think. It's now 25 of 8. If England bowl a no ball or a free hit or a wide, I think that'll make things a bit interesting. Jihan, Dr. Jihan, you say they need 4s and 6s. They do. They need 4 6s pretty much to win this match. Could be super early. You never know. You also say, Dr. Jihan, yeah, they're making Sam Curran look like a great bowler. As Topley bowls to Cummins, he works this to the man on the leg side, down at deep, long on for a single. Now, Matthew Wade's got to hit a 6 here or something. So 6 for 155. 24 off 7. So pretty much it's 4 6s for Australia to win. If my times tables are correct. Topley, last ball of his 4th. He bowls to Wade, and Wade pulls this through mid-wicket. He'll pick up a single maybe, or a couple of runs. They'll come back for 2. In the end, that was the wise choice. Pick up 2 runs if you can and hope for the best in this last over. End of the over. It's 6 for 157. We've got 1 over remaining. So a reminder for those who want to know, we've got the Women's Big Bash, WBBL, starting tomorrow. That's going to be exciting season. Let's see who will win this year's WBBL, the number 8 edition of the WBBL this year, starting tomorrow. Brisbane Heat and the Sydney Sixers. That's going to be the first game to kick off the new tournament for the Women's Big Bash. Can't wait to see who wins that tournament this year. As So that begins tomorrow. So it's happening during the T20 World Cup. So that's going to be fantastic to see many of the up-and-coming women's cricketers from the country making their stamp on this big bash. Curran bowls to Cummins, and it's a 6. It's hit the scoreboard on the full. That was a poor delivery from Sam Curran, and Pat Cummins has whacked the Jack Fingleton scoreboard with that massive 6. It's now 16 off 5. Oh, could this be it? Could Pat Cummins be the finisher? It was a full toss, and Cummins helped that on its way behind square, down to fine leg, all the way to the Jack Fingleton scoreboard for 6. What a shot. Pat Cummins, he can hit a long ball. Han, you say 22 in and over is a tough ask. Just needs smart bowling. As I say that, smart bowling. Yeah. Cummins, he works this onto the leg side for a couple of runs, is it? Yes, it is. A couple of runs. It's now 14 off 4. Well, as soon as you said that, Han, it was a poor delivery from Curran there. Full toss, and it was in the hitting zone of Cummins, and it hit the scoreboard on the full. Yeah, just got it wrong there. And Cummins recognised that, and he moved across outside off stump to accommodate for that. Very good batting from Pat Cummins. He's no, he can definitely bat, Pat Cummins. We've seen that. He can definitely bat, and he'll be hoping to get Australia over the line. He works on his batting as well as his bowling, as we know. So 14 off 4. Now, if he hits another 6, it will be interesting. He needs to hit another 6. If he does, it's going to be very interesting. Curran bowls to Cummins. He pulls this down to mid-wicket. Chris Jordan does the fielding for a single. Do they run 2? There's a bit of confusion. Matthew Wade said, do you want the second? Cummins said no. It's now 13 off 3. You say no line and length here. No need for Yorkers or overthinking. I agree with you there, Han. Just try and execute your plan here. And that's hit a very good spot. And don't do anything too rash or silly. And I guess for England, they try and Sam Curran out here just to see how he goes at the depth. I know he's done it a few times in his T20 career in IPL and for England. But it's a good thing, I suppose, for England, just trying different options if required. Instead of relying on their main bowlers like a Jordan or a Wood or a Topley to bowl at the depth, especially the last over, try Sam Curran. Matthew Wade, if he hits a 6, be very interesting. 13 off 3. Curran bowls to Wade. This one's a short delivery, pulled away by Wade. And the fielder there at deep square leg for 1. 2 balls left. It's 12 off 2. It's just 2 6s. Can Pat Cummins hit 2 6s? Judging by the first ball, he can hit a 6. Oh. In the end, it's going to be another close game, as it was in game 1. England won by 8 runs in the first game. It's now 12 off 2. Han, you say Curran can be excellent, and then throw in the stupid deliveries that undo all the good work. He is such a nearly player. I agree there, Han. And he's talking to Butler and Moeen Ali here, captain and vice captain, about the plans. He can't stray off his line and length. If he gets it wrong here, and he gets anything in the hitting arc of Pat Cummins, it's going to go over the rope again for 6. Australia need 2 6s to win this match. They need 11 runs to tie it. I think we can rule out the tie. I don't think it will be a super over. It's either going to be an England win or Australia hit 2 6s off the last 2 balls. Can they do it? Well, we've seen funny things. Here we go. Sam Curran, the penultimate ball of this match. He bowls to Cummins, and Cummins hits this back down the ground to Chris Jordan at mid-on. And you would say now, it's all over. Australia can't win this match. It's 11 off 1. And he's done pretty well there, Sam Curran. And, If Australia hit a 6, it doesn't really matter. They still lose. But for England, they've won this series. And Australia will be disappointed. And we'll talk about where did it go wrong for Australia this evening. For England, they'll be quite happy to win 2 from 2. But really, at the end of the day, these games mean nothing. They don't count for anything, as Curran bowls last ball of the match to Wade. This one's worked behind square on the leg side for a couple of runs, I'm guessing. They'll come back for the second. That's the end of the game. England win by 8 runs again. As soon as he said that, Han, no stupid ball. And yes, he did quite well there, Curran. So, England win by 8 runs again. Well, it's like Groundhog Day. Deja vu. England win by 8 runs again. But another close game of cricket. Update the score here for everyone. So there we go. England win by 8 runs, and they lead the series 2-0 in the best of 3. The next game's on Friday at Manuka Oval. So it's going to be the same pitch, I'm guessing, or a different pitch for that game. I think it will be the same pitch. Han, you say, sorry, Dr. Jihan, you say any game against England doesn't mean nothing. Yeah, obviously, these games against England, obviously, it's only a warm-up series, isn't it? As I said, it doesn't count towards anything. Yes, England have won the series, but they've still got some problems as well they need to address. The game here tonight, they were 4 down for 54, in a bit of trouble. They need to address that going forward. Their bowling did okay tonight. I think it was I think it was an okay bowling performance from them tonight. They still got a few things they need to work on, of course, as you do. But yeah, as I said, this series, at the end of the day, both teams care about winning that T20 World Cup. And this series will provide answers and questions. And I think Australia have got more questions to ask themselves going forward. Tonight's batting was very poor. The bowling was okay. At the end, I don't know why we bowled Marcus Stoinis at the depth. It should have been... Sorry about that, everyone. My phone going off. As Jihan, you say, very disappointing. Feel like...
I couldn't quite hear you. Could you please repeat what you said?
Not now, Siri, not now. Sorry about that, everyone. My phone's going off.
I understand.
Sorry about that interruption, everyone. Siri's just going off for some reason. Yeah, as I was saying, Jihan, you said very disappointing. Feel like they've given away these 2 losses. You would say that, Jihan. I would say, well, in the first game, I expected Australia to struggle, given that Australia had their weaker bowling attack. And I thought in game 2 they would be able to come back and win. Unfortunately, that hasn't happened tonight. They've lost by 8 runs again. But Australia have got some areas to look at. So, yeah, you could say they've given away 2 losses, but at the end of the day, it's all about trying to get better and improve and look at the areas to get better. And there's definitely a lot of areas for Australia to get better at. Are they still the favourites to win this tournament? Absolutely, if they get it together. Han, you say that the games mean nothing, but it must be raising a lot of questions in the Aussie dressing room. It probably will, Han. You would like to win every game, but what I'm trying to come from my point of view is that at the end of the day, yes, you would like to win every game, but realistically, this series is all about preparation for T20 World Cup. Australia care about winning back-to-back T20 World Cups. England, they don't care about winning this trophy of this series. We all know that bilateral T20 series don't mean anything. And this is a bilateral T20 series. It won't mean anything. I think at the end of the series, people won't remember this. And then we go into the T20 World Cup and say, oh, England won against Australia the other day. They won 3-0 or 2-1 or something like that. So no one really remembers. What I'm trying to say is that, yes, they will be disappointed. But I think it's a good thing for Australia to learn the hard way that what we did tonight with the bat and with the ball, it still needs a bit more work. I don't think it wasn't a polished performance. It was a bit scrappy. And even against the West Indies, it was a bit scrappy as well. So, and given that Australia was still experimenting with, Cameron Green opening the batting and all that stuff, I think we got a bit too fancy with the experimentation side of things. I think we should have just played our best 11 that we did tonight in terms of, all right, this is our structure. This is the team that we're going to take to the T20 World Cup. But, I think Australia would have more questions than answers. England, on the other hand, would be pleased. But nothing to take away against England in the first game. I thought the first game they won because of Australia's poor bowling attack, and it was Australia's second, 11, basically. But Australia did well to come back and nearly win that game. They only lost by 8 runs. In game 2, it was a indifferent batting performance. It was a bit poor. Some of their batters have some questions, like Stokes, Brook, Butler and Hales didn't quite get off to a flyer tonight. So they've got some problems as well. They've got some questions to answer. So, it's for both teams, it's quite mixed at this stage in terms of, what do we need to do to get better and win and improve. But in saying that, I think both teams will have mixed feelings tonight in terms of how they played. I think Australia will be disappointed. I think Australia, having England 4 down for 54, I think you should finish off the game there. If you get a couple of wickets, there's 6 down for 54. That's the game done. Unfortunately, they allowed Malan and Ali to get that partnership, and that sort of derailed things for Australia. And that's where England got back into this match. That partnership won England this match. And those last 2 overs at the end of the death, I know Stoinis bowled the last over. Who bowled the second to last over? Was it Stark or... Anyway, I can't remember. But, they didn't quite execute. So Australia have got a lot of things to work on. And, you've got to have those honest conversations. Han, you say a 3-0 series loss will surely dent Aussie confidence and make England think we can get wickets in Aussie conditions. It would be, Han. It would be demoralising whenever you lose a series. But it goes back to what I said. Look, at the end of the day, this series doesn't really matter. It's a warm-up series. What matters is about playing your best cricket in the T20 World Cup. So it's good that Australia are having problems. And I say that in a good way, because it's okay to have problems and work out solutions. Like tonight, the batting didn't quite fire. What did we get wrong? We lost wickets at the wrong time. We played poor shots. We didn't bat smart enough. We didn't build partnerships. We didn't do the basics well with the bat. With the ball, we bowled well up front, but we got our lines and lengths wrong. We mis-executed our skills. We got a bit too carried away. We tried different things. We tried Marcus Stoinis at the death. Probably Marcus Stoinis is not a deaf bowler. You want to go back to your main bowlers, like a Stark, for example. So I think Aaron Finch tonight was just trying different things with the bowling, and it didn't quite work out tonight. But, he'll be positive, and I think the team will be positive and say, all right, this is a learning opportunity. We may have lost again by 8 runs, but it's a learning opportunity. Let's learn from this, and let's get better. That's why you play cricket. That's why you play sport. But especially in cricket, we always talk about reflecting, reviewing our performance, and learning from it and getting better. And that's what Australia need to do. Be honest, sit around the circle in the dressing room and say, right, where do we go wrong? Are they still the favourites to win this T20 World Cup? I think they are. On paper, they're a strong team. But in this series, the series against the West Indies, they've had a few moments where they've just struggled a bit. And, it is disappointing in the way they've played in these 2 games. Jihan, you say both losses by 8 runs, and England medium paces out bowling Stark, Hazelwood, Sams, etc. Yes, it's quite weird, isn't it? That these 2 games have ended in 8-run victories to England. I think it's just one of those things. It's just a fluke. John, you say lots of thoughts. 1, I'm the Oracle, 180 for the Poms. Close enough. Yes, you did predict 180. Well done on that prediction. 2 England's 2 loose, and they didn't. Han, you say Siri likes it when you say series. I think that's why Siri's going off. Han, thanks for that. I think when I say series, it's thinking Siri. I've got to turn that off. I had my phone on silent, which I usually have for the streams. Unfortunately, sometimes it just goes off whenever Siri's recognizes my voice. So sorry about that, everyone. That happens with doing live streams, I suppose. Everything's live. Han, you say, I don't see what Australia have learned from this series. Top order looks awful and the bowlers aren't good enough to bail them out. They can't magically turn this around in a week. Yeah, I agree with that, Han. I think you always learn something from a game of cricket. And that's how I look at things myself as someone who plays cricket myself and someone who's an umpire. I always learn, and someone who does a podcast, I'm always learning from those experiences. Okay, and I'll do that tonight. What did I get well in this live stream? How can I get better for next time? And how can I get better as a podcaster or an umpire or a cricketer? So I always think you always learn something. And I think Australia will learn a lot. That's just how I see it. You always learn something from a game of cricket. And I think Australia have learned a lot over the last games against the West Indies and England. They've learned a lot. Look, they know they can play better than this. It's only 2 games. They've lost 8 runs in both games. So if Australia can turn it around in a few days' time, which is the next game on Friday, if they win the last game, which is a possibility, because as we all know in cricket, whenever a team's won a series, you always lose the last game. You have a bit of last game syndrome, I like to call it, where the team doesn't play as well in the last game. The opposition who's lost the series wins. So that could happen on Friday with England. And I won't be surprised if they lose the game because the series is already won. There's no pressure. But I think looking at Australia tonight with their batting, just looking at the replay of the fall of wickets, and it's just poor shot selection. It's just poor game awareness. It's just poor doing the basics. It's just poor. And we have too many batting problems in terms of the top order. It happened in the one-day series against Zimbabwe and New Zealand. And now it's happening in the T20 side, which is a totally, similar players in both formats, but different personnel in terms of Tim David and all that. But still, it looks like Australia are still making the same mistakes. And that's frustrating. And you really got to look at that and say, right, okay, how can we stop doing the same mistakes? How can we stop making the same mistakes? It's just players are not really, being smart about their batting in this Australian team. We've got players, we've got batters who can bat, who are very capable. They've got the potential, but they don't seem during a game to execute those skills. And that's the frustrating part, like Glenn Maxwell for a start. He's got potential. He can win you a game, but tonight it just wasn't to be. He played a poor shot again. So it's just that what's the word? Just being smart about things when you go about your cricket. And that's very important. You've got to play smart cricket. You can't play dumb cricket or mindless cricket, as some teams do, and they lose games because of it. Jihan, you say, yeah, and it could be 2-0 to Australia if Australia weren't given it away. Even with a second-string bowling attack, they had the game at Optus 1 with 3 overs left. They did. Unfortunately, they lost wickets and they lost momentum and the game was over. And same in this game here as well. Again, in a good position, they had partnerships, lost wickets, and that's the frustrating part. John, you say, seriously, Australia is running out of excuses. I don't see what Australia has learnt from all these warm-up games. You also say, John, I don't believe in the modern thinking of peaking for any tournament. You have to build momentum. I guess that's different minds, different thinking, different ways of looking at it, John. And that's your view, which is fine. You want to play your best cricket in a tournament. You hear many teams talk about you want to be peaking at the right time. You don't want to be playing a tournament and then you have your worst game. And so it's very important for Australia to get some momentum if they can and get into the habit of winning again. Look, we won 2 games against the West Indies, which were not convincing victories. The second one was more convincing. The first one was more of a scrappy performance. The 2 games against England tonight have been a bit poor, but there's plenty to learn from that. Plenty to learn from this. And for Australia, I think they're still favourites to win. You have a look at the other teams in the T20 World Cup. India have got some problems. England, they look strong. You've got Pakistan, South Africa, Sri Lanka that could win. So, yeah, it would be an interesting T20 World Cup, but you have to say Australia are favourites at home to win. It's not ideal that they've lost these 2 games the way they have by 8 runs. But that happens, and you have to learn from that, and you have to get better and improve and try and get better and better and better. And Australia will be looking at those areas of improvement tonight and certainly from game 1. They'll be talking about that all the time. Han, you say it must be in the players' minds. I got out to Curran. How am I going to do it against Shaheen or Bolt? Well, definitely Australia's had problems with Trent Bolt, especially in that ODI series against New Zealand. Trent Bolt was a serious threat. And come the first game against New Zealand in Sydney, he's going to be a threat again. But with New Zealand, looking at them in terms of how they've gone about the tri series against Pakistan and Bangladesh, they've been a bit up and down in that series, that tri series at the moment. So they've got some areas to work on as well. But I still think Australia should win that first game of the tournament for them in Sydney. Given New Zealand's record in Australia and what happened in the ODI series and what happens to New Zealand teams when they come to Australia, they've always played poorly because they don't seem to beat Australia in Australia. They can't seem to get over that mental, physical barrier in their minds that we can't beat Australia in Australia. And I think that will go against New Zealand in this tournament. Jihan, you say, again, deaf bowling and top order batting, the weakness. Finch and Maxwell under pressure. If Australia gets this run chase off to a fly, it puts pressure back on England, but they were always behind the rate. Yes, whenever you lose wickets, whenever you lose momentum, you're always gonna struggle. And for Australia tonight, Warner didn't fire. Finch, who's batted okay, he's gotten into some form. He got that 50-odd in the first game against the West Indies, which is nice. The last 2 games, the second game against the West Indies, the first game against England was a bit off. Tonight, again, disappointing. But Australia, you need those key batters to perform. Maybe we need Steve Smith back in this side. Now, that's an argument. People in the chat, what are your thoughts on that? Steve Smith, should he be back in the side? Now, I know he didn't play in game 1. He didn't play in game 2. He may play in game 3. Steve Smith provides that anchor role. Maybe we should need his quality in terms of his anchor role within this team. Maybe we should have needed him tonight. Would that made a difference if Steve Smith was in the side tonight? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. But he does add that stability with the bat, even though his strike rate's a bit slow and he's been criticised for that and people wanted him out of this side. The 11 that we have tonight, is this the best 11 that Australia have in terms of winning the T20 World Cup? I say it's a pretty strong team because you've got Tim David in there, who Australia wanted in the side anyway. Or do you want Steve Smith in this side? That's the question that Australia have to ask themselves. Is judging by what I've seen and hearing what the commentators have said, if Steve Smith's not playing in this T20 side in these first 2 games against England, He's not going to be playing the first game against New Zealand come the first game of the T20 World Cup and not be in the best 11 for Australia. But do we need his anchor role type skills to stop these batting collapses and add that stability? That's the question that Australia need to ask themselves. And people would say, well, Steve Smith, he's not very good, all this stuff. But we could have used him tonight. He could have done that role. But it's up to the Australian selectors to make that decision. But judging by what I saw tonight with this 11, I think this is the 11 that is probably going to be in that first game against New Zealand, right? Judging by what I've seen. Han, you say, but Gabe says that there should not be no coin toss. Chasing teams always win. Yes, I have heard Gabe say that, Han, in terms of chasing. But what else are you going to do? You're going to do rock, paper, scissors? Or you're going to allow the away team to choose either we bat or bowl first? I think in these modern times, teams like to chase because you know what you're chasing. Australia tonight wanted to bowl first because they wanted to know what's a good score on this pitch. We want to know what we're chasing. And then most teams, as we saw in the UAE last year, you won the toss, you chased, you won. So I think in terms of that, I think in this T20 World Cup this year, given that it's been a wet start to spring, I think the toss is going to be crucial in some games if there's weather around. Because we know with Duckworth-Lewis, if you bat second, it does favour the side batting second. But I don't think it will have a significant impact as it did in the UAE because it's not going to be dewy as much in Australia. We've got to remember it's spring, it's not summer. And it's not like the same humidity levels or climate as it is in the UAE. So it'd be interesting to see how the coin toss goes in this T20 World Cup. Han, you say, I guess in T20s for a series, they can do a coin toss for the first game. Then every game alternates between who gets to choose. They could do that. Or maybe teams bowling second just don't execute as well. And probably that was the case in the UAE with the dew, and probably teams under pressure didn't quite execute as well. And that's what I sort of noticed last year in the T20 World Cup is that, yes, the teams chasing had the dew, had that advantage. The pitch was much easier to bat on in the second innings. But most teams didn't quite execute with the ball. So that could be a factor. It could be, just the way the game's played in T20 cricket. You just chase and you just see how you come up with it and how you go about it. So this T20 World Cup be interesting, that's for sure. Let's see what happens with the coin toss. Australia won the toss tonight. They chose to bowl and they lost the game. So you can still lose if you're chasing. It's not like you're going to win every game all the time. If the opposition get early wickets, which England did tonight, they got wickets at regular intervals. That slows you down. And you're behind the 8 ball. You're behind the required rate, chasing 179. You can't afford to lose too many wickets. So, whereas in the first game, it was a good batting surface in Perth, and Australia just got it wrong with the ball, and they were chasing 208. So, it'd be interesting to see how teams approach either batting first or bowling second in this T20 World Cup. But I won't be surprised. Whoever wins the toss will probably bowl second in this T20 World Cup to continue on that trend from last year's tournament. Jihan says, interestingly, in Australia, teams batting first win more often. Yeah, it's different conditions, different pitches, different weather, climate. The UAE has a lot more dew, and it's like a game. It's like a bar of soap bowling with the ball. Whereas here in Australia, it doesn't get dewy as much. Maybe in the summertime, it does get a bit dewy and all that. But it's spring. It's been a cold spring. It's been raining. It's been wet. This pitch here at Manuka Oval was, had a bit of moisture on it. It was raining in Canberra. So it'd be interesting to see how the pitches around the country in this T20 World Cup go in terms of offering something to the bowlers. And I don't think that will be a bad thing. If we see a T20 World Cup that has something for the bowlers, I think that's a good tournament. I just don't want to see a run-off on. I don't want to see that. The first game in Perth, don't get me wrong, it was a good game of cricket. Went down to 8 runs in the end, like tonight. But I don't want to see that all the time. One team scores 200 and another team scores 200. It just doesn't make it exciting because the bowlers are having a tough time of it. You want to see that balance. So hopefully the pitches has a bit in it for both batters and bowlers, and it's a fair contest between bat and ball. That's all we want to see. And we want to see that in this tournament. And I think it will be a great tournament if we see that. Unlike last year, batting dominated slightly in the T20 World Cup last year. So it'll be interesting to see how the conditions go for this World Cup. Han, you say, for me, it is Finch or Smith. Not both of them. You can't drop a slogger for Smudge. Well, that's the thing. That's the decision they're going to make. Does Aaron Finch bat down the order like he did against the West Indies and the first game against England? And then do you have a Marcus Stoinis open the batting with David Warner because there's no Cameron Green? That's the question that Australia need to ask themselves going into this last game against England, but also the warm-up match against India at the Gabba, and then into the first game. Do we want to change it up? Do we want to have Stoinis open and then have Finch bat down the order? Or do we bring back Smith in to provide that stability and that anchor-type role in the side that we need to stop these batting collapses? Because these batting collapses are too occurrent for Australia, and they're happening too often, and they need to stop. John, you say, what do we have left? One more against England, another warm-up against India, then a break until the first Super 12 match. Put our best 11 on the park and have a red-hot go? Well, I think that would be the option, John. I think what Australia did tonight is starting to pick their best 11. So this team tonight is a good 11. On paper, it is. But as we saw in the practical side, when they were playing the game tonight, there are a few questions of concern with some players. You have Glenn Maxwell's form. Mitchell Marsh and Marcus Stoinis did okay. I thought they've batted very well in these 2 games, but they need to back it up in the last game. And it's just frustrating they got out at the wrong time. In the first game, they looked pretty good. They had good partnerships with David Warner, and then got out. So they could have won that game for Australia in the last game. So with the 11 that they've selected tonight, I think they will make some changes in the last game, I think. I think they'll probably give Ashton Agar a go. He hasn't played a game. You need to give him some time. Or they decide to play the same 11 and then play Ashton Agar for the warm-up match at the Gabba against India, which I think will be the option, I think. We shall see what happens there in terms of, okay, we'll play our best 11. We'll make a few changes to give Ashton Agar a go or Kane Richardson a go because they're a part of the squad as well. So I think the 11 that we've selected tonight is our best 11. On paper, it looks good, but in practice, there's a few areas of concern that Australia need to tighten up on because it wasn't a great batting performance tonight. Jihan, you say, I think this Australian... sorry, let me try and say that again. I think this is Australia's best team. Maybe Steve Smith in for Maxwell if he keeps failing. They could do that, maybe. But I think having Finch, Warner, Mitchell Marsh, Maxwell or Smith, maybe Josh Inglis, and then you have obviously David, and then you have Wade. That's a pretty good batting lineup on paper. So what we've seen tonight, as I mentioned before, there's a lot of problems that they need to address in terms of the batting, the top order not firing. We're relying too much on Wade. He can't get the job done every time. He was there again tonight. He was there in the last game, couldn't get the job done. So there's some areas to improve on and to look at. I think Australia have to be honest about that in terms of, okay, we've got a lot of areas to improve on. But tonight's game was a bit of a disappointing result with the bat. I thought the bowling was good. Towards the end, it got a little bit wayward and a little bit expensive. But, I think, for Australia, it's a good learning opportunity for them. John, you say it's just not the rain. The whole East Coast is just sodden and temperatures are low. Things are drying properly. It's a whole 16 degrees in Sydney right now, middle of October. These are not usual Australian conditions. John, aren't. Yeah, it's definitely different with the weather. And that's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how the weather plays a part in this T20 World Cup in terms of the conditions and pitches. Are they going to be similar? Are they going to be different to past summers or characteristics of those particular grounds? It'd be interesting. Tonight's pitch, obviously there's not going to be any games at Manuka Oval, but as we saw tonight, Manuka Oval was a bit slow. Batters had to adjust from the fast, bouncy pitch in Perth. So it is interesting to see how the weather plays a part in this T20 World Cup. It's unpredictable. It's not summer, it's spring. So it's going to be interesting to see how teams adapt to conditions, which is the important thing in cricket. How do you adapt to different conditions? But it is going to be interesting to see how they go about it. But my final thoughts from this match tonight, as we've already talked about, it's been a bit inconsistent from both teams. They've been good in patches. Other parts they haven't done so well. Australia have lost two of these games, which is not ideal. But as I said, it's a good learning opportunity to learn going forward for them. And hopefully they can learn from this and get better in the last game. As I said, this series, there's nothing much on the series. It's just a warm-up series. It's a series that both teams will look at it in a warm-up sort of type situation, tinkering with different 11s and combinations, which they have done. I was quite surprised that Aaron Finch tinkered around with the bowling attack tonight in terms of who bowled where. I don't think Marcus Stoinis works as a deft bowler. He conceded a lot of runs. You rather have Stark or Cummins or Hazelwood, someone who's done it before. So I thought that was interesting, but it's good from Finch trying different combinations and different plans and different strategies. You can't be one-dimensional. You've got to be two-dimensional or three-dimensional as a cricket team. So for Australia's performance overall, I thought the batting was poor shot selection, no smartness about the batting whatsoever. No building of partnerships, any significant partnerships like Dawood Malan and Moeen Ali did. It just, lacked the basics really. And that was the poor thing from them. They got to do the basics right. For England, I thought tonight their batting started off a bit shaky. They lost 4 wickets for 54 runs. But they got it back with Malan and Moeen Ali, who got them back into the match with that partnership. And that pretty much sealed the game for England, getting that 178 score. They've got a lot of work to do. Their batters will learn from this. Their bowling was okay. I wouldn't say it was a polished performance. I think it was a bit scrappy in parts in terms of their execution, but they got the job done nonetheless. They made a couple of changes. No Mark Wood. Chris Woakes was out of the side for Jordan and Willie. So they're trying different options in their attack. And that's their Achilles heels, England, in terms of this T20 World Cup, is their bowling attack and trying to get that right for this T20 World Cup. But yeah, they won this game by 8 runs. They lead the series 2-0. They won the first game by 8 runs in Perth. So they'll be feeling pretty happy about how they've gone about things. But the important thing for both teams is about learning and trying to get better from this performance. And hopefully they will learn and develop and get better as a team. I think both teams can learn a lot from this series. There's always something to learn in cricket, especially in games. How can we get better as a side? Dr. Jihan, you say if your death bowling is poor, you're less likely to win batting first. That's why you can't afford to lose games like this, chasing come the World Cup. I agree with that, Jihan. The death bowling, that's something that I talked about with Australia. The death bowling against the West Indies and the death bowling in the last game and this game. Not so much in the last game. The last game was just Australia's second string attack. But this game, it was a bit poor in terms of the execution. So it's something that Australia need to get right, their death bowling. Are we going to bowl Yorkers? Are we going to bowl changes of pace variations? What's our plan? Have a clear plan and try and execute it. So I think Australia will try and work on that. But the Australian attack, it's a good attack on paper. In practical, in terms of doing it for real, just haven't quite got it right at the death. And tonight, that's where it cost Australia with those 2 last overs. And in England, were able to get to that 170-odd score. I think with Australia with the ball, they had England 4 down 54. Now, you should be really finishing the game off at that stage, I think. If they got another couple of wickets, England would have been done. Unfortunately, didn't quite happen. And Darwin Malan, Moeen Ali got a partnership, got back on track. So it's something that Australia need to work on, their death bowling. They've got good options. It's just executing those skills, which is the main thing for them. John, you say back to Wade. He only faced 9 balls while Cummins faced 11. Pretty backwards. Well, yeah. Pat Cummins was on strike and they took the runs on offer at the end there. So Cummins did face more balls than Wade. Yeah, probably Wade should have, thought about that a bit better. Probably just kept the strike a bit more. But if there's runs on offer, you have to take them. And that's what Wade and Cummins did at the end there when the game's getting a bit away from you. But yes, he did face less balls tonight. Funda Hayes, hello. I hope you're well. Thanks for joining us, Funda Hayes. As we're just recapping the second game between Australia and England from Manuka Oval. If you just joined us, England won by 8 runs. They lead the series 2-0. It was a very bit of a mixed performance from England with the bat and with the ball. In the end, they got the job done. For Australia, it was a bit of a mixed performance with bat and ball. Quite poor with the bat, pretty good with the ball up front until the end of the innings. They got it all a little bit wrong. So they lead the series 2-0 with 1 to play, which is the next game at Manuka Oval on Friday. So there's only a day break. There's a lot of thinking to do for this Australian team. Can they get back and can they improve and get better? They've certainly learned a lot from this game tonight, that's for sure. So once again, we'll just go through what happened in terms of the scores for everyone before we sign out, of course, as the game is finished, and we're just recapping what has happened. So Australia won the toss and chose to bowl first. The 11s for the teams tonight: Finch, Warner, Mitchell Marsh, Maxwell, Stoinis, David, Wade, Cummins, Stark, Samper and Hazelwood. For England, they had Butler, Hales, Malan, Stokes, Brooke, Ali, Sam Curran, Jordan, Willie, Rashid and Topley. Those were the teams that both teams selected tonight. Now, Australia won the toss. They chose to bowl first. England batted first. They made 7 for 178 from their 20 overs. Excuse me there. They made 7 for 178 from their 20 overs. Darwin Malan top scored with 82. Good partnership with Moeen of 44. At one stage, England were 4 for 54 from at the start of their innings of this match. They were in a bit of trouble, but the partnership between Malan and Ali got England back on track. For the Australian bowlers, they bowled well up front. Unfortunately, towards the end, they got a little bit wrong at the death, conceding some runs. Marcus Stoinis was the pick of the Australian bowlers, 334 from his 4. A couple of wickets for Adam Zampa for 26 off his 3 overs. A wicket each for Stark and Cummins. Excuse me. Australia, in reply, finished on 6 for 170 from their 20 overs. Mitchell Marsh was the top scorer with 45. And Australia needed 179 runs to win. They fell 8 runs short. The England bowlers bowled pretty well. Sam Curran took 3 for 25 from his 4. A wicket each for Stokes, Willie and Topley. No wickets for Rashid and Jordan. So that's how the match ended. And as a reminder, the next game is on Friday. They will be back here at Manuka Oval, same time, same venue, for the last game of this short series between Australia and England. England won by 8 runs. They lead the series 2-0. So I think that's just about does it in terms of this match, in terms of recapping this match. It was an interesting match. If you're an England supporter, you'll be very pleased with how the team's shaping up. As a Australian supporter, you will be disappointed in terms of how the team went tonight. But look, at the end of the day, these are only warm-up games. Look, the team can play better. They can play better. You've got to be optimistic. And look, it's cricket. It's a funny game. We have our peaks and troughs. We're in and out of form. But this Australian team are favourites. They should win. And they should do well. I think they're one of the 4 teams to go through to the semis. And hopefully they will, lift up the trophy at the end of the tournament, the MCG. But as we know in cricket, anything can happen. Thunder Hayes, you say, just love your cricket analysis. Keep going, and one day you will have hundreds, if not thousands, of folks watching live. Well, thank you, Thunder Hayes. I appreciate that. We are growing. We're around about 402 subscribers, which is fantastic. Unbelievable. Hopefully we can get to 500 very soon. But I appreciate that, Thunder Hayes. Thank you so much. It's very kind of you. And thanks for supporting the podcast, as always. John, you say, Jack, you're ever the internal optimist. Anyway, I watched the game on Fox with the volume muted while listening to Richie Tones. Good job. Until next time. Thank you, John. I appreciate that. And being compared to the great Richie Benno is a very fitting compliment by you and others who have said that. One of my idols, Richie Benno, just loved his commentary. Keeps it simple and just goes with it. And thank you, John. Very good that you muted the volume just to listen to me commentate the game. I appreciate that. Very kind of you, and hopefully we'll see you back on Friday for game number 3 of the series, and hopefully for the T20 World Cup as well, because we're going to be doing more watch-alongs and live streams as well. So I think that's just about done us for tonight. Thank you so much, everyone. I've got to give my voice a rest. Been speaking for 3 hours. It does wear your voice out and your throat. So, there we go. A very interesting game indeed. A reminder, England won by 8 runs. They lead the series 2-0, best of 3. Now, before we go, a reminder that back on Friday of this week, we'll be live streaming game number 3 of the series between Australia and England. That's already up on our YouTube channel. Make sure you check out that. Make sure you click the bell, subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss out on the watch-alongs and live streams. And come and join us and have some fun and talk about cricket. It's been great interacting with people in the chat, as always, talking about this great game of cricket. Be sure to Like, share, comment, and subscribe, and click the bell to get the latest episodes of the podcast. Be sure to like and share our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter and on Instagram. Also, the podcast is now available on Anchor, Spotify, and on Apple Podcasts. Until next time, keep safe and bye for now.